Michael has been documenting thylacine sightings, including a very personal one.
And in 1998, I had my own experience.
You did?
So, yeah. I saw it for a couple of seconds before it went into the bush.
And you have the footage?
I have the footage, Josh.
Can I see it?
Yes, you certainly can. There it is on the hillside there.
Oh my God, look at that.
It has the characteristics that you'd expect from a Tasmanian tiger.
Elongated tail, but also it's kind of stiff.
Yes, and that's the giveaway of it. There's been some recent alleged sightings of Tasmanian tigers just in this catchment here.
So what's the plan for today then?
Well, I've got trail cameras strategically located on game trails. So we'll check the cameras, the SD card, see what we get, the 10-second video clips. Hopefully we've got our striped friend there.
Yeah, hopefully there's a Tasmanian tiger on there?
Exactly.
So do we hike out?
Yeah, I've actually got a better idea. Just head this way.
Okay, for sure. What in the holy hell is this thing?
This is a Tom car, Josh. Military-grade off-road vehicles.
And it's good for thylacine hunting.
It's A-grade thylacine hunting material.
Let's put her through the paces. Come on, let's see what she can do.
I buckle up and wonder if I should put on a helmet too.
Oh, this is my kind of driving. It's gonna be a real shame if we see one of these thylacines and then run it over.
I'm taking a break from my global game show adventure to joyride in a dune buggy through the woods on a mission to find extinct tigers. And yes, that's just as crazy as it sounds.
This looks like Tasmanian tiger country.
Outside of Melbourne, Australia, Michael Moss is trying to capture footage of an elusive Tasmanian tiger using cameras mounted on the trees in this forest reserve.
How far out are these cameras?
Just over here on the right.
Great, okay.
He sets them to record exactly when the tigers would be the most active. When is that? Let me ask my new global game show contestants, Jeff and Sarah.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you some trivia questions about Tasmania. Are you feeling confident?
Not really, but
Perfect. You are playing, by the way, for this cheap, heart-shaped Australian pendant.
awesome.
Nice.
Okay, are you ready?
Yep, sure.
This is a tough one. Like most marsupials, the Tasmanian tiger is crepuscular. What does crepuscular mean?
Ooh, is it
Crepuscular. Most marsupials are crepuscular.
Vampire.
No, I don't think so.
Nocturnal. I'm not sure.
Nocturnal is actually a pretty good guess. It means they're most active at twilight, so they come out at dusk and dawn.
Oh,
Okay.
Much like Danny. Danny, you're a crepuscular creature.
Under the cover of night.
That's when you like to come out.
That's when I strike.
That's right. You've earned this. Don't fight over it. There you go, guys. All the best. Bye. On to the next.
Danny is actually pretty harmless. I'm the one you have to look out for, especially if you let me take the wheel on a ride like this.
Okay, good.
Josh, you want to drive to the next camera?
Do I want to drive?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Okay. You've made a huge mistake. You realize that, right? Here we go.
Somehow, we safely make it to the last camera. Time to check our cards and see if we've captured a tiger.
Okay, Josh, we got all the cards, mate?
Let's see what we got.
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell is that? Walking around behind the log.
Very interesting.
Here, see it up again? Long tail.
Yes.
See that?
Extremely long tail finish as well.
What is that?
It's a good question. Wow.
That's not a possum.
No.
That's not a mouse.
No, it's not a dog or a cat either. We could have something serious here, Josh.
If it turns out to be a thylacine, do I get partial credit for having been here?
No, I think you might. If I can get away with it.
Co-discoverer?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. He's already cutting me out of the deal.
Yes, exactly.
No, I'm really excited to hear what that is. Let me know what that is, will you?
Definitely, you'll be the first to know.
After examining the footage later on a higher resolution screen, the evidence remains compelling but inconclusive. But it's a reminder that these cameras could capture the evidence we're looking for. We just have to keep looking.
I've had a lot of fun down under. As they would say, fair dinkum. And I've learned a few new things about this breathtaking country.
I hope you've enjoyed watching this game show adventure and that you join me for another round soon, somewhere in the world. But in terms of the size of the treasure, how big is it likely to be?
Makes you wonder if Captain Kidd was standing right here.
I think I found something.
What do you got?
Sounds hollow.
We've got a huge anchor down here.
Oh, man. Look at that. Treasure hunting is not for the claustrophobic. Come on! Look at that! When it comes to pirates, most of what we believe to be true turns out to be just a fantasy, cooked up by authors and filmmakers. The talking parrots, the peg legs, the long R's, all about as authentic as Johnny Depp's eyeliner. But buried treasure, now that one's real, thanks to one of the most notorious pirates in history, Captain Kidd. For years, he sailed as a privateer for England, a cruel captain. He was feared by his enemies and hated by his crew. In 1698, he became one of the most wanted men in the world. He started hiding treasure. By the time he was finally put on trial, he claimed he could retrieve a fortune in gold and silver if he were set free. But he wasn't. He was hanged, his body suspended over the River Thames as a gruesome warning to other would-be pirates. As for his treasure, most of it was never recovered. Now, researchers from New York to the Caribbean are combining historic documents with cutting-edge technology to try to find the X that marks the spot. Dead men tell no tales, but a few living ones are hoisting their sails in a bold new search for Captain Kidd's lost loot. And I'm climbing aboard. My name is Josh Gates. Look at that! With a degree in archaeology and a passion for exploration, I have a tendency to end up in some very strange situations.
This is horrible. This is officially horrible.
My travels have taken me to the ends of the earth as I investigate the greatest legends in history.
We're good to fly. Let's go.
This is Expedition Unknown. My search for Captain Kidd's treasure begins in a land long connected with pirates and profiteers, the Hamptons. This is Montauk, on the eastern tip of Long Island. Life in this quiet town has centered around the sea for hundreds of years. They've even got the postcard-perfect lighthouse to prove it. The winds have blown a lot of notorious characters through this area, but none more famous than Captain William Kidd. If you were to ask me, have I heard of Captain Kidd, I would say, of course. But if you were to press me for any details from his life, like most people, I think I would come up pretty short. You know, we tend to think of Kidd as this bloodthirsty, swashbuckling pirate, but in reality, he was just a New Yorker. Kidd was born in Scotland, but in the 1680s he emigrated to America, where he married a wealthy widow, had a daughter, and appropriately enough for a pirate, lived on Wall Street. Kidd inspired much of our fascination with pirates. Here we go. Which carries on to this day. Oh, there we go! You know what that's called? That's called a yo-ho-hole-in-one. Well, I found Captain Kidd's ship, and I do mean kids. All right, guys, come on, swab the decks, load the cannons, let's go! Pirate lore is part of the cultural fabric around here, but the truth about Captain Kidd is just as legendary.
Kid wasn't even a pirate, not really. He was technically a privateer, and the line between the two is blurry at best. In Kid's case, he carried what was known as a letter of marque from the British Crown. This was a document that gave him legal authority to attack and plunder French vessels.
It's this very narrow license to steal that enabled both Kid's livelihood and his downfall.
Kid may have been a legal privateer, but he wasn't very successful at it. His ship, the Adventure Galley, captured very little treasure, and a third of his crew died in a cholera outbreak.
He ended up sailing in the Indian Ocean off the coast of Madagascar in Africa. And that's when his luck looked like it was about to change, when he seizes a vessel known as the Quai Merchant. The Quai Merchant was loaded with loot. Problem was, it wasn't French, though Kid didn't know that at the time. It was owned by the East India Company, Britain's most powerful corporation. With that one act, Kid crossed the line from privateer to pirate.
By the time Kid had sailed the Quai Merchant into the Caribbean, he had been branded as the most wanted pirate in the world. He ditched the boat and took a smaller vessel up the East Coast toward New York and Boston in a desperate attempt to clear his name. And somewhere along the way, he buried a lot of treasure. And there's a researcher right here in Montauk who believes he may know where it's hidden.
I'm meeting engineer Andy Vacco, who has spent 30 years hunting treasure all over the Northeast. He's recovered thousands of dollars in colonial treasure, and, no kidding, he's actually in the Metal Detecting Hall of Fame.
Okay, here we go.
Andy has spent years studying Captain Kidd's movements in this area, and has a new theory about a major cache of Kidd's loot that's only a 10-minute hop from Long Island itself.
Josh, we're coming up to an area right here that is Gardiner's Island.
Okay.
This is a place that we know 100% part of his treasure was buried. We know it because it was actually recovered.
In 1699, as Kidd is sailing up the East Coast to clear his name, he sails past Long Island, as well as Block and Gardiner's Islands just off the coast. He buries some of his loot on Gardiner's, which was later discovered and documented by the island's owner.
Well, I actually have a manifest of what was actually there to share with you.
So this is a manifest from Gardiner's Island, and it says they recovered gold, silver, all sorts of stuff.
And it was the inspiration for the concept of buried treasure.
Before this, pirates weren't really known to bury treasure?
That's correct. They didn't.
Right.
The discovery on Gardiner's inspired writers like Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of Treasure Island, and in the process forever cemented the legend of pirates burying their treasure.
So are we going back to Gardiner's Island?
Well, we're going to be flying over Gardiner's Island, but we're going to Block Island.
In the wake of the loot being found, Gardiner's was searched top to bottom, but Kidd had also sailed to nearby Block Island for 3 days before pressing on.
Yeah, so what was he doing there for 3 days?
He needed to restock his ship, and he meets a woman by the name of Mercy Sands.
According to the historical record, a resident of the island named Mercy Sands helped resupply Kidd's ship. Sands later testified that as payment, he filled her apron with gold and treasure, and it's entirely possible that Kidd trusted her enough to bury even more on her property. Despite the fact that Kidd spent days on Block Island, most of the property there is privately owned and hasn't been systematically investigated until now.
And you think there's more out there?
I do.
Wow. All right, I'm starting to see your interest here. There she is.
Wheels down, Block Island. In the summer, this is a vacationer's dream. But in the off-season, the population plummets to only a couple of hundred people and a decidedly short list of taxi options.
Andy, you may be slightly overestimating the amount of treasure we're going to be hauling out of here today.
I hope we can fill this whole place up.
Fill me up with gasoline. Tonight's the night I live the dream. Out on the road, the air is clean.
We have maps from 1661 showing the Sands plot being right here.
So this is the property of the woman that he gave treasure to.
That is correct.
Right.
Mercy Sands, yep.
Right.
Josh, this is it.
That's it?
This is it.
Okay.
We finally arrive at Sands Pond, where Mercy Sands' original house stood back in 1699. Waiting for us is Andy's associate, metal detecting legend Bill Ladd.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Bill Ladd, nice to meet you.
Pleasure. What's going on?
Oh, well, we're going to be doing some metal detecting here today.
And Bill's armed with some serious state-of-the-art gear.
This thing is crazy. What is this?
This is a pulse induction unit.
I don't think I've seen one like this before. This is crazy.
We begin searching the northwest corner of the property, near the footprint of the old Sands house.
So I gotta say, these guys have put together a pretty compelling theory here. There's still a huge amount of area to search, and the only way to do that when you're metal detecting is to walk and scan. I'm getting something here. Andy, Bill! I got a hit here for sure.
I got a big shovel.
Here we go. That's the spot. Oh, I just hit something.
There you go.
What is it?
This is so old it's encrusted. See? This is the iron here.
Right.
That's got a gun shape, doesn't it? That's pretty wild. I don't recognize that. It's not an axe head. And this could be 1600s. I mean, that crust doesn't get there after just 100 years.
It actually does have a pistol shape to it.
This could be 300 years worth of rust on top of, you know, a small boot pistol.
For now, a mystery, but definitely something very old concealed under all that rust. It does look a lot like a small pistol.
It does.
Keep scanning this area for sure. See what else is here.
Bill, I think I found something.
What do you got?
You're right at the corner of the wall.
Look at this.
It sounds hollow.
I mean, it is right at the base of this wall.
I mean, if you're gonna bury something, you're gonna look for a rock, a marker. That's
Right.
not gonna...
What if? Just what if? You don't know. I don't know. In 30 seconds, we're gonna know.
You have to
Oh,
break
hold on,
up.
there it is, there it is, there it is.
I've joined two professional metal detectorists on my quest to find Captain Kidd's lost fortune. They've brought me to Block Island, where documents show the legendary pirate spent 3 days and may have buried part of his vast treasure. Now, a search with high-powered equipment appears to have just hit pay dirt.
Ooh, wow. What is that?
Cleaver? A knife of some kind?
You might be right. It does look like that.
Or is it one of those things in colonial days they stuck into the fire? I think they call it a peel.
But look at that. You can clearly see that it's a tool of some kind. Looks like a wooden handle maybe would have gone in here. This is all open. This looks really old. Unless this is Captain Kidd's ping pong paddle. Though I don't think that we found his treasure. Well, we're doing good.
We're doing fine.
We're finding all sorts of cool
Amazing stuff around here.
Yeah, we're not getting rich off it yet, but we're finding great stuff.
We spend the rest of the day sweeping Mercy Sands property
I got something down here.
and continue to find fascinating and historic artifacts from Kidd's era.
Could be a piece of plating from a ship.
But no treasure. However, Bill and Andy's search is just beginning. If Captain Kidd did hide something here, I'm confident that these guys will eventually dig it up. And while they continue to look in New York, I've just received a call from two prominent historians following another lead. One that suggests Kidd may have ditched his treasure in warmer waters long before he sailed to New England. Even before Captain Kidd dropped anchor here, the Dominican Republic was a land of sugarcane, rum, and tobacco.
Santo Domingo, the oldest European city in the Americas. It was founded by Columbus, eventually sacked by Francis Drake. This is a place that is synonymous with explorers and pirates.
The city boasts the oldest tavern in the New World, the first university, and the first cathedral in the Americas. Today, it is a quintessentially Caribbean port. Lots of life, lots of humidity, and plenty of reminders of the country's swashbuckling past.
Hello.
Hello.
Coconut to go, please.
Okay.
Good Lord, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Be careful.
I will. Stay out of the heat, okay?
Nice to meet you.
Stay cool.
Next time.
Next time.
Okay.
Fast food drive-thru in this country is out of control. So the plan now is to head about 75 miles due east, almost to the end of the island, to meet up with an explorer and an archaeologist who are following new leads that Captain Kidd's treasure may be right here in the Caribbean.
In a small harbor on the Atlantic coast, I approach historical archaeologist John DeBry and diving expert Bradley Williamson. Together, they followed Kidd's trail halfway around the world and think the best shot to finding his loot is right here.
Captain Kidd.
Yes.
Before he went up to New York to try to clear his name and ultimately, died.
Sure.
He was down here, right? He was in the Caribbean.
Yes.
Right.
So how did he come to be down here?
So he comes down here from Madagascar, arrives here in this part of the world, and finds out that he's been declared a pirate by the English crown. And it's going to be very difficult to clear his name.
While sailing in the Indian Ocean, Kidd seizes a ship known as the Quai Merchant. He believes it to be French, which would make it fair game. But it turns out to be the property of the East India Trading Company, which means it's technically owned by the British, who he works for.
So he's got this boat that he shouldn't have taken.
Yes.
Right.
But
Yes.
it's loaded with loot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Kidd's got a big problem. The Quai Merchant is unique looking for this region. It looks very different, and he knows that he's going to get caught if he uses that ship.
Right. This is like driving around in a flashy stolen car with big rims on it, right?
Exactly.
So what does he do?
He lets the Quai Merchant right here in the Dominican Republic and heads for New York.
And what becomes of the Quai Merchant?
Well, the Quai Merchant, unfortunately, comes to kind of a sad end. She's anchored right over here, but she gets looted, she's set adrift, set on fire, and ultimately, she sinks just a few kilometers from here.
And that wreck has been found.
Yes.
Yes, it has. The wreck has been found, and she's been securely identified, so we know it is the Quai Merchant.
And so what's the plan today? What are we doing today?
The plan for today is to go out and dive on the Quai Merchant.
And if you want to learn about Captain Kidd, this is a chance to dive on his actual ship.
We board Captain Bradley's boat and steer toward the final resting place of Kidd's ship. This historic wreck was first discovered less than 10 years ago and is still being studied and excavated. But this isn't just a sightseeing trip. It's part of Brad and John's plan to locate Kidd's hidden riches.
So how does this shipwreck potentially help us to find his treasure?
We know that before it sank, this vessel was anchored off Mona Island for a couple weeks.
And what's he doing there for 2 weeks?
That's a good question. It's a long-held belief that he may have buried some of his treasure on Mona Island.
Mona Island, halfway between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, was well known in Kidd's era as a hideout for pirates and privateers. And it's where Kidd and the Quai Merchant laid low before he abandoned his ship off the Dominican Republic.
After a couple of weeks on Mona Island, a bad storm came through,
Right.
so he cut 2 of his anchor cables. Those 2 anchors have never been found, so we don't know where he was anchored.
It's entirely possible that Kidd stashed his treasure while on Mona Island, and considering the weight and size of the loot, it was likely hidden near wherever he anchored. A ship the size of the Quai Merchant would have had up to 6 anchors, identical in size and make. This means that when Kidd cut 2 anchors in the storm at Mona Island, he inadvertently left 2 fingerprints at the scene. But before we go looking for them, we need to know what they look like. If we can examine the anchors on the wreck of the Quai Merchant, we can then go to Mona Island and try to find Kidd's lost anchors there. By matching the anchors at both sites, we'll learn where Kidd was posted up and where he likely hid his loot. We arrive at the wreck site and immediately prepare to dive. But we have to move fast because a report says that serious weather is headed our way.
Okay, we're heading up to the wreck. Okay, here we go.
Because the ship burned before it sank, nothing is left of its wooden hull, but the rest of its metallic cargo should still be intact.
The wreck is very shallow. She only sits at about 10 feet of water. It's amazing it took so long to find it. She sat here for 300 years untouched and unseen. Look at that, a cannon!
Suddenly, 3 centuries after its tragic fate, we come face to face with the ghostly remains of a real-life pirate ship.
Oh my God, look at that!
My quest for Captain Kidd's treasure has taken me to the Dominican Republic and the exact spot where Kidd's ship, the Queda Merchant, burned and sank. Its anchors may be the key to finding a hidden trove of Kidd's loot.
Oh my God, look at that! It's gorgeous. It's heavily encrusted, but you can clearly make out that it's a cannon. Absolutely awesome.
Cannons like these had barrels over 9 feet long, and the Queda Merchant had 30 of them, mounted and ready for a fight at the drop of a hat. You did not want to mess with this ship.
Hey, Josh, come over here. This is the main deposit of the wreck. Copy that. Look at that. There's one there and another. They're all just piled up on top of each other. The way the cannons are laying, I think they're in the hold.
We found the cannons, so hopefully the anchors will be close by. We fan out to look, and sure enough...
Josh, look, we got an anchor. Look at that. You can clearly see the arms, and you can see where the shank goes back here. No doubt about it, that's a huge anchor. Absolutely, fantastic.
A telltale sign of the anchor's age is the absence of an iron crossbeam. In Kidd's time, those beams were made of wood, which means it rotted away long ago. The weather above the surface is turning darker, and we may only have scant minutes before conditions turn for us down below. John hurries to take precise measurements of the anchor.
Hey, it looks like the shank is about 6 inches. And the flukes and the arms, oh my God, they're about 3 feet on each side. She's huge. She's quite large, yes. These measurements give us a great blueprint for other anchors that may have been on this ship. Copy that. What a thrill. What a thrill.
The storm we've been fearing is almost on top of us. We try to outrun it before it hits. And we almost make it.
We're trying to cross back to the mainland in a lightning storm. Nobody's touching any of the metal on the boat.
Wait a minute, let me grab this and hold on to you. I don't think the hard stuff's gonna come down for a while.
We manage to pass through the storm without getting fried and return to shore. Tomorrow we'll sail to remote and mysterious Mona Island, where Captain Kidd dropped 2 of his anchors and perhaps a whole lot of treasure.
Okay, you excited about today, buddy?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay, sounds good.
As the sun comes up, we regroup on the dock with a slight change of crew. Bradley will lead the charge while John stays on the mainland. We load up a considerable amount of gear and set sail on a 4-hour trip to Mona Island. For this investigation, we're joined by experienced diver and treasure hunter Jose Salaberry, who knows the dangerous waters around Mona better than anyone.
Let's talk about where we're going. Why was this a pirate stronghold?
Very remote, very isolated. The geology of the island is really unique. There's a lot of caves that go back miles, and this is where you'd want to go to hide something.
Pirate paradise.
Yes.
The thinking is that since his treasure was likely extremely heavy, Kidd wouldn't have lugged it miles inland, which makes locating where he moored the Queda Merchant critical for Greg and Jose's mission. And that means finding the anchors.
Now we have a great idea what this anchor looks like on the Queda Merchant, right? The question is, how confident are you that there are other anchors from this ship out at Mona Island?
I have seen anchors before.
Okay.
They look very old to me. We can probably see if we can match them up.
Jose has recorded anchors in various positions around the island on previous scans. But whether they're from the Queta Merchant, that's what we're here to find out. After hours on the featureless sea, a mesmerizing sight looms ahead. Sheer cliffs reach up from the depths and tower over our vessel. This is the imposing edge of Mona Island. Uninhabited by humans and home to a host of poisonous plants and massive lizards, Mona is nature at its most unforgiving. We navigate around to Mona's protected southern side, careful to avoid the island's treacherous reefs.
Okay, so what's the plan, boys?
We're here at the dive site. This is the leeward side of the island. As you can see, we still have a little swells, but it's a lot more calm.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more calm. The visibility is still pretty good. We should still have good 100-foot vis.
If you were to anchor, this would be the side, but you can see there's still a lot of area for us to cover from both sides. So I say we get in the water and just start doing a search pattern and see if we can find those two anchors that it should be here, and we can match it up with the anchor that we saw over in the Dominican Republic.
Got it.
To help us cover a vast amount of underwater territory, Jose has brought something to give us a little extra kick.
We have some diver propulsion vehicles, or DPVs. This is really going to help us to be able to cover more terrain, less exertion.
So, in other words, underwater jetpacks.
Pretty much. They could be underwater jetpacks. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's see what these DPVs can do. Just flip the switch on the side there and hang on. Okay, here we go. This isn't diving, it's flying. Jose, I'm never giving this thing back to you. You can keep it. I've got that on record, Jose. Okay, Brad, what's the plan? Plan is to go along the reef, look for anything man-made down here, any anchors, any wreckage. Yeah, if you see an anchor, it'll probably be very encroaching. It'll be part of the reef. So look very carefully. Got that? Okay.
We begin looking for the anchors along the ocean floor. The propulsion units allow us to do what earlier treasure hunters couldn't. We come across some of the discarded anchors that Jose has previously spotted. They don't match the ones we saw on Kid's shipwreck.
Looks like we got a lot of reef in here. Okay, let's go ahead and park those DPVs and have a careful look around here. Copy that. I'll go over here to the right. Brad, you want to hook left?
We expend 5 tanks of air each to search the leeward side of Mona Island without results, and our supplies are running low. That isn't our only problem, though.
Starting to feel a wicked current down here. Yeah, the surge is pretty bad. It's picking up. Visibility's gone way down.
These currents have slammed ships into reefs for centuries. If they get worse, they could cut our whole expedition short.
Hey, Brad, get over here! We got something! Jose, come here! We've got a huge anchor down here!
Just offshore remote Mona Island in the Caribbean, I'm looking for anchors left here by Captain Kidd over 300 years ago. We've previously studied an actual anchor from Kidd's shipwreck in the Dominican Republic, and a team of researchers believe that finding a matching anchor here at Mona may pinpoint the part of the island where the pirate hid a legendary treasure.
Hey, Brad, get over here! We got something! Jose, come here! No crossbar, you're right. There's probably an opening for it here, but since it was made out of wood, it would have rotted away a long time ago.
The anchor matches the design and dimensions of the ones from Kid's ship to a T, and we may very well be at the site where he cut anchor in 1699. With the currents kicking up, we finish our measurements as quickly as possible.
We're getting beat down here, guys. The swells are getting worse and worse. We need to pick up our gear and head up to the surface. Roger that. Copy that. Okay, here we go. Let's get out of here.
We got an anchor down there.
We did. We have an anchor.
It's beautiful.
We're all smiling from ear to ear right now.
I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah.
That could be Kid's anchor.
That could be Kid's anchor.
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, it looks like almost the same size. It's missing that crossbar.
The anchor looks almost exactly identical to the anchor that we saw in the Dominican Republic.
I mean, if you look in from here, you can see caves. There.
You're right.
Right?
Excellent.
I mean, it's just riddled with them.
Yeah.
We dock the boat on a long abandoned pier about a half a mile from the caves, and we unload onto Mona, where we'll spend the night near where Captain Kidd himself may have made camp. It's a spooky place. Other than the pier and the rusted remains of a derelict lighthouse in the cliffs above, we're totally alone out here. Well, maybe not totally.
All right, what's gonna come and kill me in the middle of the night, Jose?
Well, we got no mosquitoes.
Good?
Which is good.
Zika free.
Zika free.
I love that. So that's it, nothing dangerous here.
Not really, other than...
What do you mean, not really?
Well, there's some wild boars.
There's wild boars?
There are wild boars on the
Great,
island.
those are known to be super friendly.
We have some endemic iguana.
How big do they get?
They could be, more like in the 4 to 5 foot size. It's very common.
Hold on a second, 4 to 5 feet long?
Yeah, they look like little Komodo dragons.
Okay, yeah, if anyone needs me, I'll just be crying in the tent. Okay. Good night, boys. Good luck with the giant iguanas. Morning. Let's go find some treasure.
While Jose remains stationed at camp, Brad and I hike into the wilderness. He believes that the most probable site for Kidd to have hidden his treasure is the caves, so we make for one of the entrances we saw from the water. The wilderness of Mona Island is an eerie realm, dominated by hermit crabs and patrolled by giant iguanas, and home to a maze. This one, eons in the making, the perfect hiding place for a stash of stolen millions.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Want even more Expedition Unknown? Then head over to travelchannel.com for exclusive content, or follow @TravelChannel on Instagram and Twitter. My quest for Captain Kidd's treasure has led me to possibly the most isolated place in the Caribbean, Mona Island. To a labyrinth of caves where Captain Kidd might have stashed a trove of treasure. Oh, wow. Look at that. Well, we're looking for a pirate cave. I mean, you can't get much more Goonies than that, can you?
You're thinking the same thing I am. You ready to go in?
Yeah, let's go check it out. Come on, let's do it.
Sounds great.
Wow.
Erosion has bored out over 200 limestone caverns that ring the island. Fortunately, these caves are 200 feet above sea level, so any treasure Kidd might have left will still be high and dry.
Oh, Brad, come here. Look at this. Look at this.
Holy. Oh.
That's carved.
Wow.
Look at that. It's a turtle. There's more of it. See there?
Oh, yeah.
This cave is just covered in native art.
This is absolutely
Look
incredible.
at those lines in there. You see that? This is really old native art. This is probably Taino.
Holy smoke.
The Taino were the original native people of the Caribbean, but they disappeared from Mona well before Kidd's time, tragic victims of disease and conquest. Cave art such as this, though, would be valuable to pirates as markers, landmarks to note where they've hidden treasure.
So, Brad, in terms of the size of the treasure, how big is it likely to be? You know, what are we looking for?
Well, according to records, you had about 2,200 ounces of silver on the vessel. And you take into account, this is a real piece of 8. This is one of the first pieces of treasure that I found.
Pieces of 8 were silver Spanish coins worth 8 reals. They were the currency of choice in the 17th century Caribbean among both traders and pirates.
2,200 of those.
There'd be 2,200 of these.
Right, plus all the gold.
Plus all the gold, plus the silks, plus the jewelry, plus what else, you know, who knows?
So either it's one massive hiding spot or it's split up.
I'm gonna go with the fact that it's probably split up because Captain Kidd was known to be very cautious.
Right.
And he wouldn't hide everything in just one spot.
So this is the pirate version of diversifying your portfolio.
Exactly. I like that. I like that.
Got it. Well, that's good for us. There's maybe more things to find. Well, let's find them.
Okay. We got it.
We break out the metal detectors and see if we can pick up a trail that might lead to signs of Kidd's presence or his treasure.
Keep going, I'll walk with you. Watch your head. It's amazing, there's just endless array of caverns here. Keeps going. Okay. Well, this is officially a challenging cave.
Great.
Every single room you push into, there's more chambers coming off to the side. There's more pockets in the ceiling. I mean, you could be down here a lifetime, and I don't think you would have seen it all.
I agree.
The caves seem to go on forever. It would be easy to get seriously lost in here.
Treasure hunting is not for the claustrophobic.
With all this real estate to cover, it seems like the only way to find something is by accident. But then again, accidents happen.
I got a hit here.
You do?
Yeah, I got a strong hit here.
I'm gonna turn my detector off.
Yeah, let me get the pinpointer.
You get something right there. That's a good solid hit.
Oh, what are you? What is that?
Let me see.
Piece of metal?
Wait a minute. There's some markings on it. Hold on. Holy smoke, buddy. Look at that. There is a cross right there. That is a cross.
In a cave on a deserted Caribbean island near where Captain Kidd once anchored his ship, I found what could be the last remnant of treasure from his days of piracy on the high seas.
Is this a piece of 8?
Yes, you got a piece of 8
This is a piece of 8.
That is a piece of 8.
Come on!
Yes.
Look at that!
Yeah.
Look at that!
There's a castle, a castle line. That's for the 2 provinces of Spain, Castile and Leon.
Yeah, I can see the castle. Look at that.
Yeah.
Holy. That's buried treasure.
Congratulations, buddy. Join the club. Join the club,
Man,
buddy.
that is
That's
awesome.
great.
This could be, no joke, a part of Kidd's treasure.
Yes, you've got a buried treasure, buddy.
This is an amazing discovery. A piece of 8 lying hundreds of feet inside a cavern that takes some contortion to even access. It's hard to think that this is here by accident.
I can tell you one thing, we are never leaving this cave.
Okay.
Get more batteries, get some food provisions up here. We live here now. We're spending the rest of our lives here. We're hunting for treasure here until the day that we die. Brad, that's what's gonna happen.
This coin alone is valuable, but is it from Captain Kidd's hoard? There's no way to know until the entire area is excavated. We make a dent, scanning this chamber for another day, where we find curious scraps of rusted metal.
Iron plating or sheeting, maybe?
But much more work needs to be done here, and with the island's caves protected, it may be a long road ahead. We eventually make our way out of the cave system and discover another treasure that might have belonged to Kidd. The view.
Look at that. That's a view right there.
Yeah, and just think of it. Captain Kidd's vessel would have been parked right there. Based on the anchor, would have been parked right there.
Well, if that anchor is from his ship, then it was.
Yeah.
When the Queda Merchant was anchored in the waves below us, Kidd was a branded criminal, fleeing for his life. But Brad has one more piece of pirate lore to reveal. Something that he claims would have been even more precious to Captain Kidd than anything he might have buried on Mona Island.
And you know what would have been the most valuable thing on that ship?
The most valuable thing on a ship?
The most valuable thing on the ship.
I'm gonna go with a gigantic piece of gold.
That's a good choice, but actually it's this.
This?
Yes.
Bradley shows me a copy of what's known as a French pass. It was a document on board the Quai Merchant that convinced Kidd that taking the ship was legal. Presenting this piece of paper at his trial would have exonerated him on charges of piracy.
So this is really what identified the Quai Merchant as a French ship?
Yes, it did have these passes on board.
It had French papers?
Yes, it had French papers.
Why didn't he use this at his trial?
He wanted to, but this mysteriously disappeared.
Unfortunately, Kidd turned the document over to authorities when he was arrested in Boston, and when he appeared in court, it had conveniently disappeared. But not forever. In 1911, the pass was rediscovered in the British Public Archives, over 200 years too late to help Captain Kidd.
So, if he'd had this, he might not have hanged.
It was the most precious thing to him because it could have saved his life.
Right.
Kidd was taken to England and executed, his body suspended over the River Thames as a warning to other pirates. But the discovery of the French pass means Kidd may actually have been an innocent, though unpleasant man. By snuffing him out, the British Crown fanned the flames of a legend that has endured for 300 years and inspired explorers to seek out Kidd's buried treasure. Now, it seems we might be close to digging it up.
This place is much more dramatic than I pictured.
The locals don't swim in the lake because they believe it is haunted.
Nobody's dived there, so nobody's ever seen it.
Here we go, into the darkness. Wow, look at these formations. This will be a particularly deep dive for me, so I'm feeling anxious.
I may have something over here. It's a box. I see a box.
In a remote corner of Africa, amidst Namibia's sweeping deserts, is an unexpected sight, an enigmatic lake that hides a dark past. Local tribes believe it's cursed, a place of certain death. European colonists even thought it was bottomless.
Perhaps that's why Lake Ochikoto was the perfect place for retreating German soldiers to dump their weapons during World War I.
But what if they hid more than just guns? For nearly a century, a legend has persisted that the German High Command also ordered the sinking of a safe filled with 6 million gold marks.
Now, acting on eyewitness information and boundary-pushing technology, a team of explorers may be closer than ever to discovering the truth deep in the abyss.
New clues have also surfaced that could change the search area entirely, with some now believing that part of the treasure might actually be buried on land. I'm jetting to Namibia to chase down these new leads. I'll join an elite team of divers on the most comprehensive and dangerous search ever conducted to get to the bottom of the bottomless lake.
My name is Josh Gates.
Look at that!
With a degree in archaeology and a passion for exploration, I have a tendency to end up in some very strange situations.
This is horrible. This is officially horrible.
My travels have taken me to the ends of the earth as I investigate the greatest legends in history.
We're good to fly. Let's go.
This is Expedition Unknown. After a short 18-hour trip to the southwestern edge of Africa, I'm in Namibia's capital city of Windhoek. This region was mired in conflict for much of the 20th century. Today, it is a place reborn.
Welcome to Namibia. This is one of the youngest countries in Africa, having gained its independence from South Africa in 1990. And its capital here, Windhoek, is kind of a puzzler, actually. For a country that's made up mostly of wide-open deserts, this place is oddly modern and manicured. It may not be the most exciting place in the world, but it probably wins my vote for the cleanest and safest capital on the entire continent. It is also the starting line for my expedition in search of a legendary lost treasure. 13 different African tribes and the descendants of European colonizers call Namibia home, which makes the streets of Windhoek a true melting pot of cultures. It also makes dining here an adventure, and I hit up a hotspot where patrons can enjoy some real FaceTime with their food.
There you go.
What do we got here?
That's goat head.
It's a goat head, a full goat head.
The full one.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy it.
I appreciate it. Here we go. Okay. How do you get into this thing? I don't know where to start. Okay, some cheeks maybe? Here we go. Here's the thing. In all seriousness, it's great. It's looking at me though, which is a problem. But I like to think of myself as a problem solver. So they say the eyeball is actually a delicacy. Okay, here's looking at you, kid. Oh. No way. That's tough. That's hard even for me. Oh, come on. Okay, whew. This is the longest lunch of my life. Lunch was a total head trip. But so is all of Namibia. Confused travelers will notice that half the buildings look like they teleported in from Bavaria, including these tents in the center of town. Welcome to Oktoberfest, Namibia style.
Here we go, this is how we do in Namibia.
Cheers! Gryffindor! We may be 6,000 miles from Munich, but Germans feel right at home here. So Africa may seem like a strange place to celebrate Oktoberfest, but in fact, German culture runs very deep here. The Germans actually colonized this area in the late 1800s and turned it into German Southwest Africa. And the end of their reign is the beginning of our story. World War I is raging, not just in Europe, but also in the African colonies. And in 1915, the British-backed South African forces invade their neighbor, German Southwest Africa. Outnumbered 10-1, the German troops retreat north from the capital of Windhoek and formally surrender in Karab on July 9, 1915. But right before they do, Commander Victor Franke sends a small group of soldiers north to Lake Ochikoto, with orders to sink their cannons and arms before they can be seized by the enemy. And that's not all. Legend says the Germans also dump a safe filled with 6 million gold marks. 6 million marks would sure buy a lot of beer, and there's no shortage of that here. Oh, my savior. I'll take 2. And that's very clearly a wrap on Oktoberfest. The next morning, I set off to meet with Theo Skuman. Having spent his entire life in Namibia, he's one of the foremost experts on Lake Ochikoto. Theo.
Good morning, Josh.
Great to meet you.
Great to meet you, too.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Welcome to Namibia.
Thank you so much. My understanding is that when it comes to the story of this lake, nobody knows more about this than you do. Is that safe to say?
I believe so, yes, because I was the second person to dive in the lake.
A lifelong explorer, Theo and 2 friends made an incredible underwater discovery in 1984. Some of the cannons the Germans had dumped into Lake Ochikoto decades earlier. But the lake slopes to even deeper depths where they haven't explored. And so why now? Why is there a new search underway?
There is now new technology available for us to go deeper, to see more, and to actually do a very comprehensive survey of the lake. If there is a treasure in that lake, we stand the best chance ever of finding it.
I like the sound of that. This is happening now.
We have a team already assembled up at Lake Ochikoto. And Josh, I would love to invite you up to join us.
Are you kidding me? I would be thrilled.
That would be wonderful. However, one condition.
Okay.
You drive.
I can handle that.
You can handle it.
Yeah, come
Wonderful.
on. Let's do it. Come on.
We hit the road, traveling north toward Lake Ochikoto.
How far from here to Lake Ochikoto?
It's approximately 450 kilometers.
I'm starting to see why you wanted me to drive here, Theo.
All told, the drive will take more than 5 hours, and there aren't many places to stop along the way.
Boy, when you get outside of the city, it just drops away to nothing real quick.
Absolutely.
This is Namibia. Empty, vast. It is one of the least densely populated nations on Earth, and a place where nature takes on an almost mystical presence.
I've heard stories about this lake that make it sound almost supernatural or otherworldly. You know, people have described it as like a bottomless pit.
The locals don't swim in the lake because they believe it is haunted and that there are currents and whirlpools and all kinds of funny things in there.
Right.
Now, those legends actually originate back to Cook. He went swimming in the lake and he disappeared completely. He drowned and his body was never found.
Never found?
Never found.
In 1927, a local postmaster named Johannes Cook dared to swim in the mysterious Lake Ochikoto, but he never resurfaced. And to this day, his body has not been recovered.
That started the legends about it.
Right. So this is considered almost like a spiritual place then?
Absolutely.
We cross into the heart of Namibia, where sometimes the shortest road between 2 points takes you through the backcountry. And I do mean backcountry.
Oh, there's an elephant. Careful, careful.
Just gonna give him all the room he needs.
There's a reason that Mad Max Fury Road was shot here. And if there's a live-action version of The Lion King in the works, it would do nicely for that as well.
So we've got warthogs.
Look at that, warthogs. Warthogs are weird for me because Disney made them so cute, but then you see them in person and they're not actually all that cute. Sorry, Pumbaa.
Namibia boasts an array of wildlife unlike anywhere else, including the world's largest population of endangered cheetahs.
Incredible how much of this country is wilderness.
This desert is teeming with hungry wild animals, but becoming lunch might be the least of our worries.
Josh, stop! Stop, stop, stop!
Ooh. Rhino. That's a rhino.
I'm crossing the vast plains of Namibia. By my side is deep diving expert Theo Schoeman, who's directing me to a mysterious lake where legend says a German treasure was sunk in World War I. This part of the country is quite literally wild. We drive deeper into the desert, and after a day of gazing at endless sand, an astounding sight appears before us: the magnificent and mysterious Lake Ochikoto. Ochikoto literally means deep hole. Formed by a collapsed cave, it is one of only 2 lakes in the entire country, and it's easy to see why people are afraid of it. The crater is ringed by sheer cliffs and the rusted tendrils of old pipes and a forgotten pumping station, dating back to when Germans sucked fresh water out of the abyss. This is the location where the Germans are believed to have dumped their weapons and a box containing a fortune in gold at the end of World War I. To understand how we're going to tackle investigating the lake, Theo introduces me to his team.
Hey, nice to meet you guys.
Chris here.
Nice to meet you.
We've got John.
John, pleasure.
We've got Richard.
Richard.
And we've got Evan.
Evan.
That's the 4 of them.
Great to meet you guys. This place is much more dramatic than I pictured. It's really something. Just for a sense of scope and scale, how wide is this thing?
It's approximately 300 feet in diameter.
And what about the depth?
Well, we've had divers and you've had people talk about depths, but we don't really know.
So we don't know for sure how deep it goes? Wow.
It's unknown.
So tell me about this new search. What are you guys doing now?
We've brought in some really sophisticated sonar equipment, and that's where Richard comes in.
You're the sonar man.
I'm the sonar man.
So how could it still have secrets to offer up? How could we still not know what's down there?
Because of the depths, you are limited to bottom time. So literally you can go down, do something, and you've got to start going up again. You know?
Right.
Because it's just too deep.
Okay, so how do we begin?
Well, we get the boat in the water, we get the sonar established on it, and we get out there and start trawling up and down.
I love it. Let's do it.
Good.
Come on, guys. Step one of our investigation is letting a sonar system scan the darkest recesses of the lake. This should provide a never-before-seen 3D image of what lies beneath the surface, allowing us to pinpoint anomalies on the lake's floor. Hopefully one of them will be a box of German gold.
Okay, sonar's up, and we are already recording now.
The system may look homespun, but it's absolutely bleeding-edge tech. Richard is using a multi-beam sonar system, together with dual GPS receivers and a motion reference unit, to pinpoint targets on the lake's floor to centimeter accuracy. This system has revolutionized exploration surveying, and almost immediately, the computer starts spitting back results.
So what you're looking at here is the bottom where it's there, very strong signal.
Right.
That means it's a very hard bottom, really.
And things like this, what are these? What is this on the bottom here?
You know, I don't know, but that's the sort of thing we'd want to send the divers down to if it's still within their depth range.
Wow. And so for now, though, we just keep collecting data.
That's it.
All right.
We continue our methodical pass across the lake to let the sonar scan for anomalies on the bottom.
Sometimes you're looking at things that probably nobody's ever looked at. I'll bet there's places in this lake nobody's dived there, so nobody's ever seen it.
Man on the moon type stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
We complete our scan, and I navigate us back to the shore where we reconvene with the team. We eagerly await for the computer to process the data in hopes that it will uncover possible locations for the lost treasure.
How did the number crunching go?
Number crunching has gone really, really well and very surprising. That's the hole in the middle.
Right.
Okay. And around the outside of that, you can see the actual shape of this lake.
Is that underwater?
And that's all underwater. That's what you do not see when you stand there looking out across that lake.
Oh my God, it's huge.
So that's what it looks like in 2 dimensions. Now this is what it looks like in 3 dimensions.
That's crazy.
That's phenomenal.
That is awesome.
It's beautiful, is what it is.
That's the first time we've really seen what this lake looks like.
The scan reveals, for the first time ever, a complete picture of the mysterious Ochikoto. The lake actually widens like a cone underneath the cliffs and is much larger and deeper than anyone expected.
This is really extraordinary. In terms of depth, what are we looking at here?
Well, at the very, very bottom, you're down about 300 feet.
That's incredible. Can you go inside of it?
Let's go. Let's go where the divers would go without all that paraphernalia.
That's insane.
And now we're on the seafloor.
Are these some of the hits we saw on the sonar?
Exactly. So, I mean, you've got a map, but what we're really trying to do here is find these anomalies, find the targets that the divers can go down to efficiently.
Right.
You know, get them right to a spot where there's something unusual.
So there's this whole new perimeter inside the lake, in the bottom of the lake, that maybe hasn't been, you know, completely searched before, where things could have rolled down into.
Absolutely.
Chris, in terms of sorting through these targets, how do you attack this?
These sites here, there's a couple of hits which we could definitely reach with conventional, normal, scuba gear.
Do you think I might be able to get down to those?
I think you could.
And what about these deeper targets? Could you guys reach those targets?
We could reach those targets, yes.
Okay, so should we go down there and see what these targets actually are?
Let's go have a look.
Let's get dressed
and
go diving.
First, we'll investigate the targets that lie just over 100 feet down. Later, Chris, Evan, and Johan, who are certified technical divers, will use specialized underwater gear to investigate the deeper hits.
Okay, so this is where things get real. The sonar's given us some really exciting hits, but as Richard says, it's all about getting eyes down there. So this lake is very dangerous. It's very deep. This will be a particularly deep dive for me, so I'm feeling anxious, but really excited to get down there and see what's actually on the bottom.
Okay, Josh, we've got that comm system up here, so we'll be able to talk with you.
Sounds good. All right, stay in touch.
Great. Have a good dive.
Thanks very much.
To guide us in the murky water, we dropped what's known as a shot line down to the area of the first sonar targets.
Copy that, heading down the line.
Chris, temperature is dropping here. This is the thermal line. It's still going to get chillier as we go deeper. Okay, we're passing 30 meters.
Copy that, 30 meters.
Okay, we are touching down on the bottom here.
Excellent. You should be down about 34 meters and descending along the slope to the sonar target.
Copy that. Be careful. If you disturb that sand, it can get really murky very quickly. Copy that. Try to stay off the bottom.
We make it down to the area where Richard's sonar revealed several anomalies, and as the sand settles, my flashlight catches something amazing.
We got a cannon here!
This is one of the cannons first spotted by Theo in 1984. I'm blown away by this magnificent piece of living history.
This is the first one. 6-7 meters further away, we have a second one.
The colonial German-era cannons are proof positive that soldiers dumped their arms right here in Lake Ochikoto. That part of the legend is undeniably true. Now we just need to find evidence that there's also gold in these waters.
Let's keep moving, see if we can get to that other target.
We descend the slope, passing 140 feet. We're now at the very limits of conventional scuba depths, and we have only minutes to find the next sonar hit.
Chris, Theo, I may have something over here. It's a box. I see a box.
I'm 140 feet below the surface of Namibia's Lake Ochikoto, diving for a fabled lost treasure, when I spot something extraordinary.
It's a box. I see a box.
Did you say a box?
Yeah, but not sure what's inside. Going in for a closer look. Looks like it might be an ammo box. It definitely is an ammo box. Josh, be very careful in case there's still live ammo in there. Looks like nothing but silt. Just sand. This is definitely German, yes? It's as German as you can get. Well, at least the target is confirmed from the sonar.
Even if it wasn't the golden box.
Copy that.
The cannons and ammo box are proof that part of this legend is unequivocally true. The remainder of the sonar hits are in even deeper parts of the lake, but our bodies are too saturated with nitrogen to remain down here.
Gentlemen, pay attention to your time. Bottom time is up. Copy that. Heading to the surface.
Copy to that, you're starting your decom.
On our way up the lines, we perform a critical safety stop to decompress. Ascending too fast from these depths can lead to bubbles in the bloodstream and a potentially fatal condition known as the bends. But by carefully monitoring our dive computers, we finally make it back to the safety of the surface.
Whew. That was incredible.
I thought we were rich for a moment.
I did too. That box just sitting there. Oh, it's beautiful.
Now you've seen something out of the colonial era.
I mean, just sitting there frozen in time. Okay, so where do we go from here now?
Well, we're not fish, unfortunately, so our body has to have a bit of a surface interval. So we're going to climb out, regroup.
Sounds great.
We have more targets to search, though we can't dive again until our bodies have released the excess nitrogen in our systems. But Theo isn't about to take a nap on the shore. And it turns out there's a new twist to this story.
Okay, what are we doing?
There are, of course, stories that this treasure may have been stored away or stashed away on land.
Wow, that's incredible.
And we've had a call from this farmer who's found some interesting artifacts on his farm. And in fact, that was one of the areas where the German troops went through. So
right through where
it's
his
well
farm
worth
is.
it. Right through his farm, yes.
And has this farmer's land been searched before?
No, it hasn't been searched at all.
We know that in 1915, some of the retreating German troops dumped their weapons and ammunition in Lake Ochikoto. But the majority of the soldiers never make it that far north and surrender in a town called Korab, near the farm where Theo is leading us. Waiting for us is farmer Andre Skuman and his son Kyle.
How are ya? I'm Josh.
I'm Andre.
Pleasure, Andre.
Pleased to meet you.
How are you? This farm has a connection to the German soldiers that were here, is that right?
Yeah. No, one of the soldiers owned this farm.
Really? And the German surrender took place where?
Very close to this farm.
And so you guys said that you found something out here?
Yes, it's in the back. I'll just fetch it quickly. It's a double-barrel shotgun.
Look at that. That is awesome. Wow. What do you think?
Well, very definitely from the German colonial times. Yeah.
Also, these pieces of metal. Metal shards. You could see it's been shattered.
It's like iron. It looks blown apart, whatever it was. And where did you find this stuff?
About 4 or 5 kilometers just down the road here in the valley. And we also found a cave nearby.
There's a cave down there?
Yeah.
Have you been through the cave? Have you searched in there yet?
Not yet. We haven't, been with any metal detectors or anything,
Is it possible for you to take us to where you found this stuff, to where the cave is?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, we could do that, yeah.
You want to jump in with us?
No, I think we must go with this.
Wait a minute. You're telling me this drives?
Yeah, well, it's a Land Rover.
Look, just because it's a Land Rover doesn't mean it drives. And what's going on with the tires?
Well, it's because of thorns. We have the sickle bush, and we've put in another layer of tire so that the thorns don't get through.
You've put a tire on top of the tire?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, we're definitely taking your car then.
Okay.
Now that I see this, I realize we should not be driving. She rides beautifully. Luxury.
It's only about 3 miles to the cave, but 3 miles on this Fury Road feels like an eternity. There's no right side of the road here because, well, it all feels wrong.
Right, end of the road, guys.
Okay, thanks. Here we go.
All right.
With my spine now permanently realigned, Theo and I follow the landowners to the area where they found the German artifacts and a cave.
So the environment here is incredibly challenging. Pretty much everything around here is covered in thorns and nettles and things that want to cut you. There's about 30 snakes that could kill you. Also, it's about 110 degrees out.
We end our hike at the edge of a crack in the earth that could swallow us whole.
Oh my word. Oh, that is a cave.
At the foot of a Namibian mountain range, I'm hunting for a World War I treasure chest that new evidence suggests might be buried in this underground cavern.
Oh my word. When you said cave, I was picturing something you could maybe walk straight into.
Yeah, well.
Not the chasm of death here.
Well, that's where a treasure would be safe.
I suppose that's true. Okay, the question is, how do we get into it?
We use the ladder.
Ladder?
Ladder.
Holy.
The ladder, which is a generous term for some rusted chains these guys bolted to a cliff, drops straight down about 50 feet.
Steady, slow, no rush.
looking good, Josh. Keep going.
Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking great. This is crazy.
As I nervously descend the rickety chains, I look up to see Theo, who's considerably older than me, yet moving twice as fast while wearing sandals.
Okay, nice work, nice work. Oh, come on. There's another ladder? You guys are sinister. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. Into the darkness.
Yep.
Wow, look at these formations.
Ooh, this is beautiful.
Incredible. So the items that you guys found around here are iron, which is something that this would easily pick up.
And then, of course, the treasure, that was also in a very heavy metal box.
Right, exactly. So if that's down here, this thing's going to make easy work of finding it. So let's start by just getting into every chamber that we can. We'll try to scan this over every inch of floor that we can find.
Okay, we're going to have a look there.
I'll start down here.
So here we can have a look.
I run the detector over every square inch of soft sand I can find.
That's a hit. That's a big hit. Hey, guys!
Yeah?
Guys, I got something over here! Got a hit back here for sure. It's a really clear signal, so let me pass this back to you.
Right.
And let me see if I can pinpoint it. Oh, it's metal. Something metal for sure. I'm under it now. It's flat, whatever it is.
Okay. There we are, it's coming out. And there we are.
That. Looks like a spade head.
That is exactly what it is.
Look at that. It's heavy as hell. It's iron. Pure iron. Look at that. That is definitely old. I would say that probably is.
Probably colonial.
I mean, nobody uses tools like this anymore.
This spade head is at least 100 years old, which would place it in the early 1900s, smack dab in the middle of Namibia's German colonial era.
If you can pass me the metal detector, I'm going to get back here and see if we can get anything else. I mean, this is a sign that not only were people down here, but they were digging for some reason. Okay, let's see what's down here. Nothing yet.
Okay.
I'm not getting anything down here. I'm going to back out.
Okay, well,
Coming out.
Foot more.
Oh, wait. I think there might be something down here. I'll take that spade back again. I think I might have left too soon here. More metal.
More metal.
It's a curved piece of iron, but it's broken. It's a section of something. I couldn't tell you what. Here, I'm going to pass it out to you guys.
Okay, pass it out. Let's have a look.
Well, it's definitely very old and potentially colonial.
Don't worry, I'm happy to stay down here now. I'm going to go over this whole chamber in here with a fine-tooth comb and see if we can find anything else.
We continue to search every nook and cranny of these chambers for the rest of the day. The colonial-era artifacts we've recovered here are promising, and they'll keep Kyle and Andre on the hunt for more. Shortly after sunrise, with the required time between dives having passed, Theo and I make our way back to Lake Ochikoto to renew our search. We have several sonar targets left to investigate, and Theo knows just the person to help narrow them down.
Josh, I would like us to make one stop.
Before reaching the lake, Theo is eager to visit a woman with an incredible tale to tell, one that greatly impacts the investigation. Ilse Schatz is a lifelong area resident who is so beloved by her community, they named a street after her.
First of all, thank you for taking time to talk with us. I appreciate it.
Don't mention it.
We're very interested in the story of this lake, and I understand that you have a real connection to this story.
Yeah, also.
When I was younger, working at the museum, an old man approached me and said, "I have a secret. He told me he was a German soldier here in 1915.
And so what did he tell you? What did he reveal to you?
Once the Germans were retreating, they dumped their weapons and a heavy safe into Lake Ojikoto. He took me out to the lake and showed me the exact spot where they threw in the box.
Want even more Expedition Unknown? Then head over to TravelChannel.com for exclusive photos, deleted scenes, and more. I'm on the hunt for a legendary German treasure cast into Namibia's Lake Ojikoto at the end of World War I. And we've just heard an incredible account from someone who spoke with a soldier who was there. And so what did he tell you? What did he reveal to you?
He took me out to the lake and showed me the exact spot where they threw in the box.
Did he know what was inside the box?
He thought it was gold.
He thought it was gold.
Because it was so heavy.
So Ilse, we have a survey map of the lake. Can you indicate on here where he said that he threw this box in?
Here, no?
In here?
Yeah, in the curve.
Yeah, in the corner there.
In the corner. In terms of this northwest corner, has this been thoroughly searched over here?
The northwestern corner, it hasn't been searched as intensively as the rest of the lake.
Theo and I jump in our 4x4 and return to the dusty road. After hearing Ilse's incredible eyewitness account, I can't wait to get back to the lake. One of the deep targets we plan to investigate today happens to be right under the spot that Ilse pointed out on the map. However, investigating is easier said than done, because the lake is 300 feet deep, which makes normal scuba diving impossible.
This is a very unique experience for me. I'm always trying to kind of put myself in the middle of the action, but this kind of diving is just so beyond anything that I can do. These guys are going down to more than 300 feet. This is extremely technical, mathematical diving. So for today, my mission is to remain topside as a safety for these guys, and we'll stay in touch throughout their trip, and hopefully they get something good down there. Okay, a little thruster. Okay, thrusters look good.
And lights, check the lights.
I'll work with Dr. Bates and track the divers using a deep water remote operated vehicle, or ROV.
Okay, ROV in the water.
ROV's away.
As the ROV descends into the lake's depths, the divers make their final preparations to do the same.
I'm gonna hook the strobe at 30 meters so we can find our way back.
Okay, we're seeing your strobe at the bottom of the line.
In order to reach the bottom, Chris and his team are breathing a mixed gas called nitrox, which is carefully monitored by computers, as well as rebreathers, which recycle exhaled air.
Even with the rebreathers, even with the mixed gas, their bottom time down in this lake is still incredibly limited. So for safety reasons, they're probably still only going to spend about 10 minutes or so down there. So they have to find these targets quickly and figure out what they are, because they just don't have the luxury of time.
Dropping 50 meters.
Any sign of the bottom?
Not yet. Not yet. 70 meters. $100 meters.
Can you see the bottom?
Yes, heading go.
It's a little hard for us to keep up with you, so just keep me posted. Let me know if you guys see anything.
Copy.
This is a view that almost nobody on Earth has seen. A silent and pitch-black landscape more than 300 feet below the surface.
We got about 2 minutes in.
Josh, I got something here. Bones. We got bones here.
Did you say bones?
There's bones everywhere.
300 feet below the surface of Namibia's Lake Ochikoto, deep diver Chris Steenkamp and his team have just made a gruesome discovery.
Josh, I got something here. Bones. We got bones here.
Did you say bones?
There's bones everywhere.
Can you tell what it is?
It looks like a large animal, maybe some type of antelope.
How and when this animal came to rest at the bottom of the lake is a mystery, but it's not the one we're here to solve. With time running short, the team moves toward the sonar hit.
Think we found the target.
Chris, what are you seeing?
Beautiful old wooden boat.
You're seeing a boat? That's awesome. What's it look like?
Boat is buried in salt, up to the gunnels, but inside mostly clear.
Wow, amazing.
This is a piece of hidden history. A boat, likely from the German colonial period, which is frozen in time in the darkness of the lake and pinpointed from 300 feet above by our sonar scans.
Chris, anything around it at all that you can see? No sign of a heavy safe down there, no sign of a treasure.
Sadly, no.
Copy that.
The team moves quickly, examining the other targets around the boat. They see bottles and other debris that sank down from the surface. But their bottom time is up, and so the search for the gold comes to an end.
Let's head to the surface.
They ascend slowly, stopping at intervals to carefully bleed off nitrogen along the way.
Here they go.
Now they go. Right. Divers on surface.
Welcome back. How you doing?
Great.
You good? Well, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we found the little boat.
How long do you reckon that boat's been down there for?
Comes from the German area. So the boat is a 100-year-old boat. The boat inside is that deep, but outside there's only that much.
The rest is all silt?
The rest is all silted.
Wow.
So it just proves how things get silted up.
Do you think it's possible that this safe is down there and it never gets found?
Someone will find it some days.
But not today.
Not today.
Our African adventure has been a thrilling and dangerous quest. Cutting-edge sonar is giving us the first ever look at the true size and shape of this otherworldly lake. Our dives illuminated World War I cannons, ammunition containers, and a perfectly preserved historic boat. And on land, colonial-era artifacts could mean the golden treasure is tucked away deep in a forgotten cavern. For now, the puzzle of the treasure lives on, as does the will to solve it. The men risking their lives to explore Ochikoto are as rugged and persistent as the wilderness they live in. And perhaps with time and technology, they may just crack the case. But a creeping feeling came over me in the dark waters of the so-called bottomless lake. It felt to me like a place man isn't meant to be. Even if the treasure is down there, something tells me the lake wants to keep it for itself.
This is where they say the Ark rested for 800 years. They claim the Ark is not far from here.
This is a literal hole in the ground?
That's right. It's not documented. It's never been filmed.
There's a passage!
Hard to breathe.
Finding the Ark is very dangerous.
Incredible. You're not going to believe what we've got here.
This is awesome. The Ark of the Covenant. It is the single most iconic archaeological relic in history, an object of astounding religious significance and, according to legend, unimaginable power. In the Old Testament, Moses returns from the top of Mount Sinai with stone tablets delivered from God himself. On them are inscribed 10 commandments, an eternal covenant between man and the Almighty. These are kept in a sacred gold-covered chest known as the Ark. It is said to wield the terrifying power to consume its enemies with a wall of fire and reduce mountains to dust.
the Israelites carry the Ark to Jerusalem, where it vanishes from history. And mankind has been looking for it ever since. Thanks to everyone's favorite whip-cracking archaeologist and my cinematic hero, the Ark is synonymous with adventure. But I won't be fighting Nazis to find it. New excavations beneath the holy city of Jerusalem are revealing secret passages which may lead to the Ark's last location. And there are those that swear that the Ark left the Middle East entirely, and shocking new evidence that may rewrite biblical history. It's my turn to take on Indy's quest as I join a new generation of raiders going after the Lost Ark. My name is Josh Gates. Look at that! With a degree in archaeology and a passion for exploration, I have a tendency to end up in some very strange situations. This is horrible. This is officially horrible. My travels have taken me to the ends of the earth as I investigate the greatest legends in history.
We're good to fly, let's go.
This is Expedition Unknown. Like most biblical mysteries, this one starts in Israel.
Welcome to the old city of Jerusalem. This is one of the most extraordinary places in the world. It is also one of the most confusing, and that's because it's splintered into 4 pieces: the Jewish quarter, the Muslim quarter, the Christian quarter, and the Armenian quarter. Within these walls, the world's great religions rub shoulders, sometimes uncomfortably, in a city unlike any other.
The heart of this holy hodgepodge is the Temple Mount, a massive platform that has dominated the old city for millennia.
To really understand how important this place is, all you have to do is look around. The Dome of the Rock here behind me is where Abraham attempted to sacrifice his son and where the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. And this is the last known location of the Ark of the Covenant, which was housed in the Great Temple of Solomon. Where it went from there is where our mystery begins.
Almost 3,000 years ago, the platform was home to the immense Temple of Solomon, dedicated to the God of the Israelites. Inside the complex was a raised inner sanctum known as the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant was kept, seen only by the highest of the high priests. For hundreds of years, the Ark is a living, present part of the Jewish faith, the center of the temple and the people of Israel. But in 589 BCE, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar lays siege to the city of Jerusalem. It lasts 2 years, and when it ends, Solomon's temple is destroyed by the Babylonians.
After that, the Ark simply vanishes from history.
One of the theories explaining its disappearance is that the prophet Jeremiah foresaw the impending Babylonian invasion and secreted the Ark into a dark corner beneath the Temple Mount.
But looking for it here is complicated, to say the least. And that's because this place isn't just historic, it's holy.
The platform is now under Arab control and is highly restricted. The western, or so-called Wailing Wall, is the lower side of the Temple Mount platform. Jews pray here since it's the closest they can get to where the Ark once rested. The Temple Mount is a political powder keg, and anyone poking around has the potential to cause violent clashes between the factions here. There is one archaeologist, though, who has the rare privilege of working beneath the area of the Temple Mount. And I have exclusive permission to join him at his dig site. Though it's been 2,700 years since the Ark's disappearance, you can put this baby on your coffee table at home today.
You know, the last time I saw somebody take the lid off this thing, their face melted. No, I shouldn't look. I shouldn't look. It's not a good idea.
I emerge in the Jewish quarter to meet Avi Solomon at the Western Wall.
Avi.
Hello, Josh. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
He's the chief archaeologist at an immensely important dig nearby.
How long have you been excavating here?
Almost 16 years.
And where are you excavating?
Inside the Western Wall tunnels.
In the tunnels?
In the tunnels.
In respect to the sacred nature of this place, I don a traditional head covering called a yarmulke and walk with Avi beneath the Western Wall to one of the most exclusive locations in Jerusalem. A sealed-off passageway where the last attempt to find the Ark beneath the Great Temple began and ended.
This opening is considered to be Warren Gate.
Warren Gate.
Warren Gate is one of the 4 gates that archaeologists has discovered inside the Western Wall.
And this would have led into the Temple Mount?
Yes.
So it was like a tunnel?
Like a tunnel. In 1981, Rabbi Yehuda Meir Getz tried to enter behind it, because according to his calculations, he might find the Ark of Covenant inside the Temple Mount itself.
How far in did he get?
30 meters.
Wow, he went almost 100 feet, but he did not find the Ark.
He did not find the Ark.
The rabbi's tunneling was so controversial that it sparked a riot. 15 years later, when a small section of the Western Wall tunnels were open to the public, violence erupted that resulted in the deaths of 75 people. No one has attempted to search for the Ark here since. But riots aren't the only risks for those who seek the Ark. Avi offers an example from the Mishnah, a book of Jewish wisdom dating back to the 2nd century.
It once happened that a priest surmised that this was the entrance to the hidden chambers. He came to tell his friend, but before he had time to finish his words, his soul departed. They then knew for certain that the Ark was hidden there. So he was just going to mention it, and he died.
Yes. Finding the Ark is very dangerous.
Avi is not in search of the Ark, but his work puts him in close proximity to the Temple Mount. So anything his team finds has profound historic and religious ramifications. He leads me beneath the streets, and as we descend, we begin to travel back in time. This is the true Old Jerusalem, frozen in time beneath the hustle and bustle above.
Wow, look at this. You excavated all of this?
Yes.
And what's above us here?
The Muslim quarter of Jerusalem.
He brings me into one of the pits to see how fruitful digging under the city can be.
Take the hammer. This is a shed of pottery. Here another one.
And how old do you figure this is?
1,600 years old.
Wow, incredible. We are here really at the edge of the Temple Mount.
Yes.
Underneath the Temple Mount proper, how much of that has been excavated?
None.
And do you think it will ever be excavated?
No. Nobody's working over there. Nobody's allowed to work over there. It's like a black hole in the archaeology of the land of Israel, unfortunately.
But this is still giving you a lot of incredibly valuable information about the history of the city.
Yes, yes.
All right. Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it, Avi.
I leave Avi to keep working on one of the most important archaeological sites in the world, with a new appreciation for just how much of Jerusalem has never been explored.
Okay, so digging down into the rest of the Temple Mount isn't going to happen anytime soon. But there is an archaeologist in town named Scott Stripling, who may have a lead on another way to explore the underside of this city.
I meet Scott at the Tower of David, amidst the ruins of a massive citadel that once guarded the old city.
Scott.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
I'm good, man. Nice to meet you. So, I know there's a lot of people who believe that the Ark was hidden under the Temple Mount. You think that's a possibility?
Well, I think it is, because the last place we know that it was here in Jerusalem, so it's a legitimate thing to explore. But since the 19th century, because of the political tensions and the religious tensions, there's been such little exploration that's been done.
In the 19th and 20th centuries, archaeologists such as R.W. Hamilton, Charles Warren, and German explorer Konrad Schick were able to explore beneath the Temple Mount with impunity, something that's become unthinkable in this day and age.
So what brings you to the old city today, then?
Well, I've been invited by some colleagues to check out an opening into the ground, and it seems like there's a passage that is connecting to the Temple Mount area.
Wow, this is a literal hole in the ground?
Right.
Has anyone gone down and surveyed this?
Not in modern times. It's not documented, it's not published, it's never been filmed, and that's what we're hoping to do today.
Scott invites me to join him as he prepares to explore this mysterious hole in the ground. We walk down ancient alleys and narrow passages to the site, where Scott introduces me to his team member, Alon, who's prepping to head down into the newly discovered opening.
Hey, I'm Josh. Nice to meet you. You look like a guy who's ready to explore something. Where is this opening? I'm sorry, that's the opening?
Yeah, that's the opening.
Oh man, I should have skipped breakfast. I mean, I'm barely gonna get in that.
You see the bottom?
Oh my God.
It's like 40 feet, more or less. I will load you down in the beginning with this rope.
Just so I understand this, you're gonna pull me out of this hole using that consumer power drill?
Yeah. It's working. You'll be surprised.
Yes, I will be surprised. Okay, let's see what happens.
The shaft was concealed beneath ancient stonework, and because no one has been down there for hundreds of years or more, we can't be sure the air is safe, or that there is any air for that matter. We send down a meter to test how much oxygen there is for us to breathe.
We don't have any poison gas. Just the hair, it's a bit thin.
A bit thin?
It's right on the line.
It will be more thinner because we have more people down.
Okay. Once we get the green light to proceed, we tape our cuffs at the wrists and ankles to keep spiders and scorpions from doing their own excavations. Finally, it's time to go.
Holy moly.
I begin my descent through 3,000 years of history.
Here we go.
Hoping that at the bottom lies a pathway that leads directly to the Ark of the Covenant. Biblical archaeologist Scott Stripling and I are descending into a tunnel beneath one of the most ancient and sacred places in the world, the Old City of Jerusalem.
See you on the other side.
See you down there.
He's hoping this trip could lead to the impossible-to-access area beneath the Holy Temple Mount, where some believe the Ark of the Covenant has been hidden for millennia.
Okay.
How's it going down there?
Oh, it's going great. Very old blocks all the way down.
Does the stone change from the top to the bottom?
It looks pretty consistent.
The stone on the top is definitely 1st century, so if it's consistent all the way down, then we know that this is a 1st century shaft.
Copy that. Looks like it's opening up a little bit down here.
All good?
Okay, I'm definitely at the bottom. Lowering. There's a passage.
You're kidding me. How wide is it?
It's very narrow, Scott. It's only about 2 feet across.
Coming down.
An extremely cramped passageway leads into the darkness, unexplored for centuries. It means Scott may be right, and this could connect to a larger tunnel network leading under the Temple Mount.
Pick it up, Scott. I'm in a coffin down here.
Okay, I'm on the ground.
I wedge into a small opening so he can lead the way.
Right behind you, Scott.
All right, here we go.
We start to push forward into the tunnel. It's pitch black down here, and the air feels thin. We're joined by one of Scott's team members who's equipped with supplemental oxygen.
Notice how the roof is changing. These pavers that have been laid in here 2,000 years ago, I'm positive now that this is a drainage system from the 1st century.
Any idea how far back it goes?
Well, further than I can see, we're going in the direction of the Temple Mount.
Okay, let's see where this thing goes. And the size of these stones above us is incredible now.
Oh, they're massive. Remember, we're about 40 feet under the modern city of Jerusalem right now.
Some of the stones are holding up better than others.
Looks like the lintel stone actually cracked.
Yeah, it is broken.
It looks unstable, so don't touch it.
Copy that.
As you're coming in, stay low. Stay down. There you go. All right, you made it.
Things don't get any more comfortable as we move in the direction of the Temple Mount. The further we go, the tighter the tunnels seem to narrow.
Yeah, I'm pretty much hands and knees at this point. This is incredible, but also incredibly claustrophobic.
This is as dangerous a place as I've been in a long time. The ancient tunnel is unstable, the air is barely breathable, and we're down here with Jehovah knows what.
Oh, spiders. Why did it have to be spiders?
But at the end of it could be the Ark of the Covenant. So there's no thought of turning back.
Oh my goodness.
What'd you find?
You're not gonna believe what we've got here.
What do you got?
I can't believe what I'm looking at. The signature of Conrad Schick, dated 1863.
Look at that!
Conrad Schick was a famous 19th century archaeologist, one of the few to explore under the Temple Mount before it became too volatile to dig.
You can see clearly here, C. Schick. Now the date's a little rubbed out, but if we look back here, his companion has dated it 1863.
That is outrageous.
Can you believe that this man had the presence of mind 150 years ago
to graffiti the wall,
to actually tag the wall so that we could find it and show it to the world?
Oh man, I knew I should have brought my can of spray paint.
You're looking at history right now.
This is a real confirmation that this is one of the tunnels that he discovered and surveyed.
Well, it's positive proof. I mean, as an archaeologist, we dream about having inscriptions for evidence.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get any more clear than this.
This is awesome. This is so awesome.
All right, man.
Nice work,
All right.
buddy.
Excellent.
Okay, let's see where this tunnel goes.
All right.
Could his signature mean that these tunnels connect to those in the temple? We have to push on even as the walls close in on us, until there's no further for us to go.
Josh, we've come to collapse.
Blocked off?
It's blocked off. Looks like the tunnel actually does keep going, but another shaft has collapsed in.
Anywhere to snake a camera through there?
I don't see any way to get a camera through. Looks unstable. In the future, maybe we'll be able to raise the money and come back and actually excavate this tunnel and see if it goes the rest of the way toward the Temple Mount.
But for today, no Ark.
Not today, my friend. We're gonna have to bring a team and come back and dig it right.
We turn around for the long walk back. But getting home may be even more dangerous than we imagined.
Hey guys, the air starts to be very thin right now.
Okay.
We need to go outside.
You okay, Scott?
Yeah, I'm laboring to breathe.
Yeah, me too. Okay, let's see if we can get a place where it gets a little wider here.
I'm in a claustrophobic's worst nightmare. Nearly 50 feet beneath the old city of Jerusalem, on the hunt for the Ark of the Covenant. And suddenly, our oxygen meters tell us that we're running out of air to breathe. On the long journey through this tunnel, we've been using oxygen far faster than it's being replaced. The air, which was thin to begin with, has now turned downright dangerous.
Hard to breathe.
We find a small open space for Scott's team member to administer oxygen.
I'm feeling a little lightheaded, man.
All right, Josh.
Can you use this? Yeah, yeah. Whew. Oh my God, like I feel Like a new man.
That's awesome.
I gotta carry one of these things around all the time. Like blue velvet in here.
Right.
Let's keep moving and keep this thing on standby in case we need it.
With fresh lungs, we make our final push to the exit.
Attention! This, we pull you.
Was that the power drill?
Yeah.
Come on!
You laughed at my drill, eh?
Am I hallucinating or do I hear singing?
It's all for you.
Jerusalem. Gotta love this town.
Scott will hopefully be back with an excavation team to push even further down the tunnels to see how far they extend. But for now, if the Ark is beneath the Temple Mount, it seems to be entombed, both physically and politically. As for my search, I'm not giving up yet. I'm off to meet with a new researcher with another compelling theory, that the Ark made its way out of the city before the Babylonian invasion. Not only out of the city, but to another continent, Africa. Welcome to Ethiopia, a country still marred by memories of famine, but in reality, a place of bounty and historical riches beyond compare. A true melting pot of cultures and religion. Ethiopia has been the stage for some of the most mysterious kingdoms in history. One of them had its capital in the northern city of Axum. I'm here to ask local historian Sisay Sagai why this dusty city is ground zero for modern seekers of the lost Ark. He says he wants to meet at a local coffee shop. And this is it.
This is not like any coffee shop I have ever seen.
Yes, this is Ethiopian coffee ceremony.
Drinking coffee in Ethiopia isn't just a morning habit, it's a spectator sport.
I've heard of a hand coffee grinder before, but this is like next level.
Yes, very ancient tradition.
The locally grown beans are roasted and ground, in this case with a piece of rebar, in an elaborate process that is a far different sight from our grab-it-and-go society.
Oh my word. Come on. Wow. It's so smooth. Forget Starbucks. Forget that hipster pour-over beaker thing that my cameraman Brian will not stop talking about.
Hey, that thing works.
Our great fathers, when they want to teach history, they make it coffee time.
Well, that's good, because I need some teaching here. I want to understand how the Ark comes from Jerusalem, from the Temple of Solomon. How does it get to Ethiopia?
Queen of Sheba. She's the queen of the Axumite kingdom. Queen Sheba traveled to Jerusalem to meet King Solomon. During her stay in Jerusalem, they become two lovers. And they have a baby called Menelik. And Menelik grew here in Axum.
The lore says that when Menelik grew to adulthood, he returned to his father in Jerusalem. There, a high priest had a vision that Menelik should bring the Ark back to Ethiopia. He took the Ark from Solomon's temple and brought it here to the kingdom of Axum.
The Bible is silent on this, right? The Bible doesn't tell this story.
Everything is mentioned in the Ethiopian Kibernegest.
Kibernegest.
Yes, this is the Ethiopian holy book. It's like a Bible. I can show you the evidence the Ark is here in Axum.
I would love to see that, yeah. Let's finish this coffee. I'm not going to sleep for a week, by the way.
Okay.
Sisay takes me to just outside of the city to see one of the oldest churches in Africa.
We're going up there.
Yes.
The Abba Pantaleon, which reportedly contains ancient manuscripts related to the Ark. As befits a holy place, the church is perched on Axum's highest point.
Sisay, why can't the power of the Ark reveal itself closer to sea level?
The Ark works many mysteries.
Whew, what a view. Worth the walk.
The documents we seek are kept in a sacred chamber of the monastery, and the priests are kind enough to bring them into the light.
Wow. So this is one of the old books here in this monastery. It is about 1,600 years old.
Sisay reads me the crucial passage about the Ark.
ምድር ትሰማዕ ጥበቢሁ ለሰሎሞን This is the part. It says Solomon and Queen Sheba, that they made together.
Does it explicitly say that the Ark came here?
Yes, this is what they explained to us.
That's incredible. Thank you for showing this.
To the people of Ethiopia, the scriptures of the Kebra Nagast are taken as gospel. But it isn't only the locals who believe that the Ark is here in Axum. Cisse and I hike back to town to meet his friend and my next contact, biblical investigator Bob Kornuk.
How are you, man? Nice to meet you.
Bob has been coming to Ethiopia for nearly 2 decades investigating the Ark, and he's formed tight connections with the community here.
I first came here about 19 years ago to disprove that the Ark was here. But I started talking to the monks, I started looking at evidence, and it all fit. The more I come here, the more confident I get that their story has merit. They claim that the Ark, the actual Ark, and the 10 Commandments are not far from here.
In town?
In town, in St. Mary's of Zion Church.
Now, does anybody get to go in and actually see it?
Only one man gets to go in and see it, the guardian of the Ark.
And who is the guardian?
He's appointed by the church. He's considered the only one holy enough to be in front of the Ark of the Covenant. He lives in there, and he'll live in there to the day he dies.
And if I go up to the guardian with a checkbook, I'll give you $1 million. Doesn't do anything.
Not any amount of money will ever gain you access.
I don't have $1 million check to offer. I work in cable. But if they believe the Ark is there, I have to try and see it.
This is St. Mary's of Zion Church. It's the most holy church in all Ethiopia.
We enter the gates of St. Mary's, a tightly knit complex of chapels and churches. And somewhere in the middle of it all is reportedly the Ark of the Covenant.
Is it possible to walk to the gate?
We are not allowed to cross the line to go closer to the temple.
I understand, yeah. How often does the guardian come out from that building?
He never leaves that compound in his entire life. There's such a holy terror in their heart that if they violate that, they believe that God will kill them right on the spot.
Is it possible, you think, to see if we might be able to maybe try to get an audience with the guardian?
We can try through the deacon.
Okay, great.
Just a second.
We're making a request to meet one of Ethiopia's most reclusive holy men in one of the world's most restricted places. And it looks like we're about to get an answer. I'm in the ancient city of Axum, once the capital of a mighty Ethiopian kingdom, and now, perhaps, home to the Ark of the Covenant. We've asked to meet with the reclusive priest who reportedly guards the Ark.
The deacon says he's not coming out.
This is it. No access beyond here.
No access.
Okay.
Like so many others before us, we've been turned away. To the faithful, the Ark is sitting about 50 feet away from me. It's maddening. How can we determine if the legend is true without getting a look inside? Well, historian Bob Kornuk believes he can prove the Ark is here. All we need to do is examine ancient clues that are hiding in plain sight.
That is unbelievable.
This is the Stele Field of Axum, a collection of ancient columns covered in enigmatic inscriptions from nearly 2 millennia ago.
This is outrageous to me. Just the design of these things, it almost looks like science fiction.
They believe these huge monoliths were raised by the fiery presence of the Ark.
The mysterious kingdom of Axum was a powerful trade center in the ancient world. Even though Axum thrived hundreds of years after the Ark vanished from Jerusalem, I've already seen Ethiopian texts that claim the sacred chest was brought here. As for the columns, they range from small to the largest one on Earth. But there's one stone monument in particular that Bob wants me to see.
There's a stele that's fallen over. It's not that grand in size or elaborate, but there's something pretty interesting that's underneath it.
Underneath it?
Yeah, right on the other side.
It's carved. It looks like a pedestal with something on top of it.
This is a 2,000-year-old photograph in stone of the container of the Ark of the Covenant.
That's crazy. That is really cool.
I'd be careful if I were you, because last time a man was underneath that did this, a snake jumped down and bit him. Really, he was in the hospital for 2 days.
Bob, that falls under the category of that you should have told me 2 minutes ago.
Better late than never, man.
All right, let's get the hell out of here.
If Bob is correct, this 2nd century design would be one of the oldest depictions of the Ark, and could be proof that it was brought here to Ethiopia. But this field isn't the only place that supports Ethiopia's claim to the Ark. In fact, Bob believes there's testable physical evidence that we can examine. According to one controversial theory, before the Ark reached its home at St. Mary's, it passed through Egypt and then down the Nile to a sacred island monastery in Ethiopia known as Tanakirkos. And that's where Bob wants to explore.
Okay, so what's the plan, Bob?
There are ancient artifacts that they say came with the Ark of the Covenant that they have in a treasure house.
They've never been tested?
Never been tested.
Wow.
Bob's goal is to test these artifacts. If they line up with the Ark's timeline, they could prove that whatever is hidden inside St. Mary's is in fact the Ark. But first, we have to make it onto the island where the artifacts are housed. We pull over at the shore of Lake Tana, the largest lake in Ethiopia and source of the legendary Blue Nile. Waiting for us is Haifa University professor of archaeology, Sariel Shalev.
So, Sariel, how do you fit into this motley crew?
I'm an archaeometallurgist, analyzing ancient metals, trying to understand how they were made and in what time.
Okay, let's do it.
The ride across Lake Tana seems absolutely idyllic, though I decide to take a pass on an afternoon swim once I spot the local wildlife.
Hippo right there. Wow.
Turns out there are crocodiles here too, and as we get deeper into the lake, things start to feel foreboding, especially when we see the Holy Island looming ahead.
This is the mysterious Tanakirkos Island.
Even before you consider that this place might have once housed the Ark of the Covenant, it's intimidating.
It's a wild-looking place. Yeah. It's just got a real Skull Island vibe about it. Ready for even more adventure? Then head over to travelchannel.com and check out behind-the-scenes photos, deleted scenes, and more. Biblical investigator Bob Kornuk and I are on Ethiopia's Lake Tana, heading to an ancient island monastery where legend says the Ark of the Covenant was held for 800 years before being moved to an off-limits church on the mainland. Did outsiders visit this place or no?
No, this is a holy island.
Bob is hoping to test artifacts still housed on the island which reportedly came here with the Ark.
This is about as primitive a place as you're ever going to find on planet Earth.
As we slowly approach the cliffs, I'm a little concerned to see that there's no dock. And as for a welcome party, a lone monk emerges silently from the tree line.
We're going to dock right here.
Lucky for us, Bob has met this senior monk in the past, but has never been given permission to examine the artifacts on his island.
Abba Gabriel. Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Oh, it's good to see you again.
Hello. Hello.
I'm given a blessing, which I hope is a sign of good things to come.
Thank you.
We would like to know if you would grant us permission to come onto the holy island of Tanakirkos.
The island is highly restricted, so each step we take requires permission from the priests.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much.
As we push through the dense jungle, we stop at one of the most sacred and secret places in all of Ethiopia.
This is where the tabernacle was, right where we're standing. This is where they say the Ark rested for 800 years. In fact, we even found the holes where the tent poles went here.
Wow.
If he's right, we're in the presence of one of the holiest places on Earth. The site is tantalizing, but we're here for hard evidence. The monk leads us to a courtyard where we come face to face with the island's sacred treasury.
Wow, this is amazing.
What you're looking at here, this is like a vault where they keep all the holy objects.
How old is this building?
Oh, this is probably 800-900 years old, maybe 1,000.
And look at this giant snake skin. A little reminder of what lives on the island.
They claim that what is inside there are holy objects that came with the ark to the island. Abba,
Yes.
is it possible to see inside the great treasury room? It's possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm a second.
Thank you.
Access to this building by outsiders is almost unheard of, and I proceed with humble gratitude.
Shoes off.
Shoes off, okay. Wow. Beautiful.
He shows us the Ark's tools one by one.
What is this?
The garment of the high priest, known as the ephod.
So this was worn by the high priest when worshiping over the Ark.
Yes.
Incense?
So older incense holder.
Yes.
They would take the blood and the blood would be sprinkled on the tabernacle and the ark.
I see. Thank you very much for showing us this. It means a great deal.
The artifacts are visually compelling. The relics and the texts in this room are clearly extremely old, no question. But do they fit into the timeline of the Ark of the Covenant?
So how does this work? It looks to me like an alien hairdryer.
This alien hairdryer would tell me exactly the relative amount of each element in the surface that I'm measuring.
Okay, so let's give it a whirl.
He tests the implements with the XRF machine, which can tell us what the items are made out of without putting so much as a dent in them.
Okay, we've got all the data, so let's step outside and see what we got.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Come on. Okay, so what do we got?
Let's start with the ball. The ball is made of copper with 15.3% zinc.
Okay.
It's significant because it cannot be earlier than year zero.
And why is that?
Because before that, nobody knew how to add zinc in such quantities into melted copper.
Okay, I got it. So that object, which they say is very old from the time of the Ark, can't be that old.
For sure.
Let's talk about these incense holders.
The one that they claim is older was made definitely of iron. The problem with using this on iron, this machine doesn't see organic material. Now, we have a system that we could date the carbon. We need to take a real small sample of few milligrams.
And they're never going to allow that.
They will never allow anything to harm those objects.
Even though the dating remains really gray here, these objects are very unique. They're very specific.
They do certainly fit with what the Bible talks about as objects used with the ark.
Right.
We have unique objects that you don't have any parallels. I don't know anything like that.
So it does, in a lot of ways, back up this story of the Ark being here, but in terms of ironclad, no pun intended, evidence, we're still have to go on faith a bit here.
The tests on the tools here are, like so much of the Ark's story, incomplete. We know that one of the objects inside is newer than the Ark, but the iron relics do appear to be the right period.
Do you think that they have that Ark in Axum in that church?
Even if it's not the ark, it's something so powerful that it's galvanized an entire nation of people.
Right.
Was the Ark once on this lonely island? And is it locked away in a church in Axum today? I'm left with a mountain of circumstantial evidence. But one man may have answers, and I can't leave Ethiopia without making another effort to speak with the guardian of the Ark at St. Mary's Church. Bob, Cisse, and I return to Axum, bypassing the front gate of the church to stake out the rear fence. If the guardian does step outside, we're hoping it'll be here.
This is where he sometimes sits?
This is the only place that he would go. But we could be here for 6 months and he might not come out.
Bob has met the guardian only once, and he's been coming here for decades. But even with the odds against us, I can't walk away yet. We wait for hours as the city of Axum moves all around us.
Hey, Josh, that's him, at the corner. Right the corner. Look to the gate. Yes, he's coming.
In the Ethiopian city of Axum, I'm hoping against hope to meet the guardian of the Ark of the Covenant at St. Mary's Church. The guardian may be the only man alive who has seen the actual Ark. Suddenly, in flowing yellow robes, the guardian appears.
That's him. Look to the gate. Yes, he's coming.
Abba.
The hand of your...
The naasteling. Abba, Abba. Do you remember me? Abba, this is my friend, Josh.
It's a great honor to meet you. I was just going to ask him what it feels like to be in the presence of the Holy of Holies.
He said, this is the home of God, the home of the Lord. The Lord is live every day here, so welcome to the home of God.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm a Saganalo. They know. Josh, you must be special because that's the most he's ever said to anybody. He's never carried on or commented about anything.
I think the two of you may have something to do with that. So thank you for the introduction. That was incredible.
That's awesome.
That was incredible, really. To know that right behind that wall could be the most substantial religious artifact in the history of the world.
I would bet everything I owned that the Ark of the Covenant is right in that building.
Thank you both. I wasn't sure if we were going to even get to see him, let alone have him come up and engage with us. Was incredible.
So with the Guardian's blessing, I'm left to wonder, is the Ark of the Covenant here, in the dusty capital of a lost empire? Or is it beneath Jerusalem, in the ruins of the grandest temple in history, now hidden behind stone walls and explosive politics? My journey has brought the search to never-before-explored places and conducted never-performed tests. To be honest, I leave this expedition feeling as though I've actually glimpsed the power of the Ark. Its ability, even in its absence, to start riots and wars, to inspire scripture, and to cement the faith of the Ethiopian people. To crib a line from Raiders, perhaps it's true that the Ark is something that man was not meant to disturb. It is not of this earth. And therefore, it may be safest right where it is, in the realm of legend. Welcome to medieval England, somewhere in the northeast part of the country, and these are not happy days. The kingdom is embroiled in turmoil, facing brutal fighting with the French and a civil war here at home. Wealthy barons all over England are rising up against the reign of a greedy and tax-obsessed tyrant by the name of King John. John's reign has been nothing short of disastrous, and he's traveling the country with a large force, putting down revolts and collecting riches to fund his military campaigns. But little do his enemies suspect that King John is about to lose everything. The massive convoy is traveling with the king's most prized possessions, including his crown jewels. But right about now, John makes the decision to part ways with the carriages, sending them through a dangerous marsh known as the Wash, while he rides around to the other side. The caravan and its drivers roll on into the muddy fields, unaware that in a few hours, scores of people will be dead, and the entire treasure will be swept away by a freak force of nature. A priceless fortune will be lost right here, buried deep in the pages of history, and waiting patiently for the future. History has no shortage of unpopular monarchs, but when it comes to being a rotten royal, one infamous Brit takes the crown. King John. My mom being from England, I've been hearing about the bad king since I was a kid. After all, he was so notorious that writers cast him as the legendary villain in the Robin Hood tales. In the 13th century, King John's convoy was transporting a massive hoard of royal treasure, worth an estimated $70 million. But somewhere along the journey, the caravan took a wrong turn and was never seen again. But this medieval cold case just got red hot thanks to some groundbreaking new discoveries. Deep in the British archives, dusty scrolls are revealing a roadmap to the last known location of King John's treasure. And state-of-the-art aerial scans are peeling back the modern landscape to take archaeologists and treasure hunters back in time to the scene of the accident. So get ready to hop across the pond on a quest for 800-year-old crown jewels so valuable that whoever finds them can live like a king. My name is Josh Gates. Look at that! With a degree in archaeology and a passion for exploration, I have a tendency to end up in some very strange situations. This is horrible. This is officially horrible. My travels have taken me to the ends of the earth as I investigate the greatest legends in history. We're good to fly, let's go. This is Expedition Unknown. Hi there. Well, our journey begins here, in the windswept marshlands of East Anglia. And everything around me, all of this, is known as the Wash, which is, as best I can tell, a very muddy, shallow bay that connects the eastern side of England with the churning waters of the North Sea. Situated on the eastern edge of England, the Wash is a more than 900 square mile wetland that in medieval times doubled as a kind of shortcut for those traveling along the coast. Now, somewhere around here, King John's caravan, which would have been made up of thousands of people, a countless number of carriages, met with a very violent disaster. The question is, how? Well, it turns out that the Wash is a lot more dangerous than it looks. To understand what makes the Wash so deadly, I've enlisted the help of tidal expert John Bacon. John.
Josh, pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
Let me make sure I understand this. All of this out here is part of what's called the Wash.
Yeah, the Wash forms a muddy estuary, very typical of the east coast of England.
I confess I don't really understand fully what it is. I'm desperately hoping you can actually explain this to me.
Yeah, well, I think we can probably do a bit better than that. We'll take a craft and get out there and show you what's going on.
I love it. Let's do it. Navigating the Wash while staying dry requires a very unique and incredibly fun mode of transportation. This is great. I love this, man. Travel in style, John. Okay, so all of this out here, this is all part of the Wash.
Yeah, this is the Wash. This is the edge of the muddy estuary where the three main rivers actually meet the southern North Sea. The mud is a layer that's formed for the mixing of the fresh water that's brought from the rivers, mixing with the salt water from the ocean.
As the tide comes in, this whole area will be underwater by 6 to 8 feet.
And so everything I see around here will all be underwater at high tide.
The water comes in very quickly. These areas will probably be covered in less than an hour.
And do people get into trouble out here?
People have lost their lives. The currents are very strong when that tide is flooding.
I still don't fully get how an incoming tide could destroy the entire caravan.
I've got something back at the dock that I think might provide the answer.
Perfect!
Once we're back on dry land, John shows me the fascinating data that he's been able to collect inside the wash that reveals what may have happened to King John's caravan.
So this is a digital model of the wash. This, Josh, is a normal tide. This is the area where he would have crossed somewhere across this region.
This model illustrates that during a normal high tide, even when the water rolls in, some of the wash remains dry and navigable, which is where the king's caravan likely tried to cross. But John has discovered that under certain conditions, the wash can become a much deadlier place.
So one of the things that could have happened was a spring tide occurring, which occurs when there's a full moon and the high tidal level is slightly higher than a normal tide.
Right.
Another thing could have happened was a storm surge at that time. It's possible under a powerful storm you may get waves up to 15 to 16 feet high. If all of those things occurred at the same time, then you could have a significantly bad flooding event.
With just the right mix of environmental conditions, the storm surge blows past the normal high tide with a wall of water that could have swamped everything in its path and turned the wash into a waterlogged hellscape. With this revelation of how the caravan got destroyed, the next step is finding out exactly where. For that, I need to get to London, and I'm traveling in a set of wheels with some serious mojo.
Groovy, baby.
Speaking of conspicuous modes of transportation, King John often traveled with a 2-mile-long caravan of up to 3,000 people. An impressive posse, considering very few people actually liked him.
It turns out that some historic documents, as well as 21st century technology, might be about to reveal the location of King John's lost treasure. And to join the search, I'm headed to England's capital and the home of today's modern monarch.
I steer my shagadelic ride about 100 miles south to the storied streets of London.
London, there really is no place like it. It is one of the coolest cities in the world, a center of empire, a city of traditions, a very difficult place to drive a car. So much traffic.
Since you could crawl through London faster than you can drive here, I decide to ditch my wheels and explore on foot.
Well, that thing's a lot roomier on the inside.
And even though I'm hunting the 800-year-old treasure of King John, I find myself on the doorstep of today's reigning monarch.
This is the famous changing of the guard, one of the great traditions of the English monarchy. There are 5 different regiments of the British Army, as well as the Queen's own personal guards. And every day, one group shows up and relieves the guards on duty. It's this incredible piece of pageantry that's been going on here for more than 350 years. Though in the time of King John, the mood in London wasn't quite so celebratory. John is born around Christmas in 1166, the youngest son of Henry II. But it's his brother Richard who becomes England's next king. John plots against his brother and eventually assumes the throne, heralding in one of the most tumultuous reigns in English history.
To find out more about John's troubled rule, I make my way to the National Archives to meet with archaeologist Dr. Ben Robinson, who's been working to identify the exact route the king's caravan took through the wash.
Ben.
Hi there, Josh. Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Ben is getting me access into the highly restricted vaults of the National Archives, where we link up with the head of medieval collections, Dr. Jessica Nelson. This is where they keep the history, hundreds of years of it, meticulously conserved. And we're about to get a first-hand look at some incredible original documents.
What are we looking at today? What are these?
So these are documents which date from the reign of King John of England. So they're original medieval documents. So they're about 800 years old.
Wow. And that's pretty unusual, isn't it? Because before this, British kings didn't document this kind of stuff in this detail.
We certainly think that King John was the first king to really systematically enroll his documents, and those documents survive, those enrollments survive until today.
King John was obsessive about documenting every detail of his reign. In fact, His scrolls formed the backbone of what would become the British government's record-keeping system.
Ben, why do you think he instituted this?
He was kind of a paranoid, edgy character, you know.
Right.
I think he wanted a document of what was being sent out so he could refer to it later to say, look, I told you you've got the keys to that castle. Look, I've got the document here to prove it.
Right.
Now, why haven't you got that castle?
Right.
I think he was that kind of bloke.
How are these potentially helpful in this search for his treasure?
So you've almost got a day-by-day account of where the king was.
Right.
And that's extraordinary, because that gets us closer to those events, those crucial few days at the end of his life.
Right. Is it possible to examine them closely?
Certainly is.
Yeah? Wow. Look at that!
With the unrolling of this priceless historic document, I'm about to enter the 13th century and see the clues that could lead to King John's missing crown jewels. I'm in the city of London, England, deep inside the British National Archives, poring over medieval scrolls with historian Jessica Nelson. These documents were dictated by King John himself, not long before his entourage was lost in a coastal area of marsh and quicksand called the Wash. Archaeologist Ben Robinson is using these historic records to guide his search for the king's lost crown jewels.
Look at that! This is extraordinary. And it's written in Latin?
Yes, so it's written in medieval Latin.
Medieval Latin? Which you can read?
Yes.
Good, because I'm a little rusty. This roll is from when?
The whole roll is from the last year of his reign.
Okay.
And the section we're looking at here is just the last few days. And he's issuing an order to one of his officials here on the 12th day of October.
But the crucial thing here is we actually know where he is, Josh.
Right.
That's the crucial thing. He's actually naming the places where he was. These places still exist.
King John's insistence on recording the daily workings of his government provide an unprecedented look at his reign. His scribes are unwittingly providing clues for future historians to follow. In 800 years, the town names written down on this parchment will provide a treasure map of sorts that describe the king's caravan's route through the deadly waters of the Wash. Okay, and so where does he go?
We see him moving on, and then here he's at Swine's Head on the 13th day of October.
According to the scrolls, King John and his caravan travel from Swine's Head Abbey in Spalding to the town of Bishop's Lynn, where he becomes ill with dysentery. John parts ways with his baggage train and takes a longer route back west through the town of Wisbech and on to Newark, while his entourage is told to take a shortcut through the Wash. It's somewhere in this area that the caravan is lost. And as for King John, he succumbs to his illness and dies several days later.
This is why you need to look at the archaeology and you need to look at the environment. You need to look at how the coast operates today, and then you'll start to understand. Put that together with the archaeology, with an understanding of the environment, and we're starting to get closer. And that's what's exciting.
The scrolls reveal critical clues, but to find the exact spot where the caravan was lost, we have to study the terrain as it appeared 800 years ago. And to do so, we have to see it from above. Ben and I leave the archives and head to a small airfield. We load into a very snug Cessna 172 Skyhawk.
We're going to use this footage, Ben, also for my new series called Big Guys, Little Planes.
From the air, Ben plans to show me exactly how technology is cracking open this royal cold case.
This is great. The visibility is fantastic. You can see the whole expanse of the Wash. And the thing to remember is that what we see as the Wash Coast today is not the Wash Coast in medieval times.
And how would it have looked different back then, this area?
Look at the shape of the fields. There's the odd wiggly line here as well, the wiggly drains and droves, and they mark previous watercourses and the traces of sea banks. Piece by piece, the land has been reclaimed from the sea.
The Wash is almost 20 miles across, but it turns out it used to be even bigger. The fields beneath us were once part of the medieval mudflats, but have now been filled in and reclaimed as farms and roads.
So we know where he was coming from, we know where the treasure was going to. How do you narrow that down?
We use something called LiDAR. A LiDAR, basically, it's like an airborne laser system that pings these lights very fast at the ground. It gives you this snapshot of the landscape underneath the landscape.
And so what did the data reveal?
Well, the first thing you can see is the height differences between areas of landscape, and that's really important. That green area marks perfectly the shape of the medieval estuaries. The crossing point is somewhere between that sea bank and that sea bank.
Based on the LiDAR, how many promising areas do you think have emerged that may be where the crossing happened?
You see the high points, the places where there's stable land, where there's potential routes through the marsh, and I think there's 3 or 4 potential crossing points that make sense. One of those crossing points, you save the best part of a day, and at this time of year, when you're on a war footing, saving a day's travel is important.
Right.
That crossing point is between here, there.
Right.
That's about 5 miles. I think King John sent his baggage train across that route, but on that particular day, it didn't work out.
Right.
The plane returns to the airstrip. I say goodbye to Ben and continue my journey to see how his LiDAR scans are being used to find the missing treasure. Well, Ben's LiDAR discoveries have been big news, and now various groups of archaeologists and historians are on the ground attempting to use that data to pinpoint the location of the accident, and I'm going to join them, which means I'm headed back to the Wash. I drive nearly 100 miles north to the edge of the Wash and through the medieval gates of the historic city of King's Lynn. Walking around King's Lynn is like stepping through a portal into the past. Between the soaring cathedral, ancient streets, and time-worn bridges, it's easy to imagine King John himself rolling through here. King's Lynn has been on the map since the Middle Ages. It used to be known as Bishop's Lynn. And in King John's time, it was a thriving port city. It's also one of the few towns in England that doesn't hate King John, and that's because he actually granted the city a charter, which gave them certain rights. In fact, they're so sympathetic to King John here in King's Lynn, they actually erected a statue of him, or of the Burger King. In fairness, it's very hard to tell the difference. I'm here to meet with one of the UK's most successful metal detectorists, named Gary Drayton, who's asked me to meet him at the place where all treasure hunts officially begin and end,
Gary.
The local pub.
Hey, Josh.
Nice to meet you. How you
How are
doing?
you? Great,
Yeah,
thanks.
pleasure. All the best.
And you, mate. Cheers. I've actually ordered some food if you're hungry.
Gary, I'm always hungry.
Some local delicacy, jellied eels.
I'm sorry, jellied eels?
Yep.
There's a strong smell coming off them. Immediately, it's the first thing I notice. Just to be clear, these are eels that have been
jellied.
King John was a big fan of this local delicacy, famously demanding it at his royal table. Then again, he died of dysentery. So, hopefully we'll fare better. Ooh, bones.
Bones?
Wasn't expecting bones. You can really taste the river.
Yeah.
English cooking at its finest. Okay, let's talk treasure. You have an idea where you think King John's treasure might be?
Yeah, well, thanks to these new LiDAR readouts, we've got a lot of new areas that have opened up to us.
And have you investigated these places before?
No, I haven't, but we are gonna be.
Let's finish these eels and get out there.
I've got some bones now.
With eel bones still stuck in my throat, Gary and I make our way to meet up with fellow treasure hunter Charlie Field. What are you guys getting into here?
This is probably a crossing. What we should do is metal detect first, and then that way we can use the dredge in the areas that look the most promising.
And the dredge basically is just suctioning up the mud.
Yeah, so you're going to find things and tiny things which you wouldn't find with a metal detector as well.
Now you might think that after the waters recede, the king's men will just come back down to the wash and recover the treasure. But it's not quite that simple. The thick mud here swallows anything and everything that touches it. So while some of the larger pieces of treasure might be recovered, without future technology, the rest of it will be impossible to find here in the 13th century.
Thankfully, Gary and Charlie have brought all the modern-day treasure hunting essentials, including a dry suit that I'm assured will keep me toasty warm.
Help me! Help me!
Okay, snug as a bug, we're suited and booted. And don't open this zip underwater, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We start our sweep of the area. And it seems that today, luck is on our side.
You got something? What is this?
I've joined treasure hunters Gary Drayton and Charlie Field in a freezing cold river in East Anglia, England. We're searching for signs of King John's lost crown jewels.
You got something?
When our metal detector signals a massive hit.
What is that?
It's iron, and it's reading 11 inches.
11 inches under the mud.
Yeah, definitely we should mark this. Alright, so that's one possible, Charlie.
Okay, great. Moving on.
Yeah.
We mark the spot and keep searching, planning to dredge wherever we've dropped our stakes.
Bit of a possible target here, Josh.
Got something?
Yeah. Got another signal here, Josh.
Is mine turned on? Now, Gary, any interest in switching metal detectors?
Not at the moment, Josh.
Okay, because
this one's, I think this is on a lucky streak.
Yeah. I mean, I got nothing over here.
Jeez. Discouraged by my lack of success, I wade into deeper territory. But before long, I start to question that decision.
There it is. Yeah. Oh, boy. I don't know about the crown jewels. The family jewels are definitely gone, though. Lost forever. Oh, boy. That is chilly. Whew. Big hit here. Big hit. Can somebody get a snorkel for Gary, please? This might be over your head, Gary. I don't know.
Touché. No, it's fine.
Get a hit!
I'm hoping that the concentration of stakes in this small area means we're on the right track and about to unearth some lost British baubles.
So I think we should fire up the dredge.
Start doing some vacuuming.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
We fire up the dredge, Charlie?
Let's see what's down here.
Yeah.
Charlie starts up the dredge, and she purrs like a chain-smoking kitten. I'm relegated to hose duty, which basically means I suction up the riverbed in the places we've targeted.
This is tough. It's like trying to vacuum the floor with your eyes closed. In Antarctica.
The dredge sucks up and spits out torrents of mud and water. Whatever's left over ends up trapped on the multi-layered strainer.
Let's see if we got anything. So now the heavier stuff has all been kind of trapped in here. I think I got something here, Gary.
Yeah, that looks
See that?
very
Look at that.
promising.
Look at that. Looks like a hot cup of tea.
Here in England, everything stops for tea time.
Cheers. Oh, that is a treasure.
Even a promising treasure hunt. But after a quick cuppa, we get right back to business looking for the jewel in the rock pile.
Hold it, guys.
Hold it.
What is that?
I know exactly what that is. Do you know
What is that?
That is the crest of England. That's the 3 lions for Sam.
It's is this
the
a stamp?
official seal of England.
This is a seal.
Yeah, that's a seal, a wax seal. It would
Stamp it on documents.
Yeah,
Melt
wax.
the wax, push it onto the document.
But
You'd
not
have
just
to-
any documents,
No,
royal
no.
documents.
The stamp is made of lead and would have been used to seal official letters, possibly from someone in a position of great authority. How old is this?
That is old. I mean, that is really old.
Yeah, how old
that's
does
like
it stand to be?
That's like 11, 12. That's in the
Absolutely,
time
yeah,
frame.
this
This is it.
Yeah, that's period.
This
That's
is 800 years old.
Yeah.
Look at that right there. That is history. That's extraordinary. And for you guys to give that to me is, I mean, the generosity. I'll just keep this in here.
You'll be King Josh.
There we go. King Josh. That does have a certain ring to it. The seal is a significant find. Significant enough for us to keep sifting through the freezing muck. And it's a good thing we do, because it's not long before I spot something that appears metallic stuck under the grate. What is that? You see that? There. Gary?
Looks metal. Yeah.
What is that? Look at that! Look at that! I'm with treasure hunters Gary Drayton and Charlie Field in a region of eastern England historically referred to as the Wash. We're sifting through what our dredge pulled out of this river when a piece of metal catches my eye. Look at that!
A little face.
Look at that! Look at it!
It's got like a little face on it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I've got that could be way older even than what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Sort of, you know, maybe 300 years earlier than what we've been looking at.
Wow. I mean, look at that face.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What is it?
That would have been the metal strip when you open a purse.
Right.
You know, just like a little money purse.
Right.
And it's the same design through the centuries. It's a little mini piece of that. I mean, look at the decoration on it.
It's really something. To me, the thing that's really mind-blowing about this is that we found all this in one day.
In one little area as well. This is just in this little area.
So you think that we could be on top of part of the treasure from the carriage accident?
I really do, yeah. I think these are serious clues.
It's incredible. The artifacts we found in the river certainly suggest that this may have been a crossing point in medieval times. That means that King John's caravan could have become swamped right here. Time will tell, and Gary and Charlie plan to keep hunting to see what else they can dredge up. While they do that, I'm doing my due diligence and following another hot lead. I'm off to join a team that's investigating a different spot identified by Ben Robinson's LiDAR scans. The LiDAR data indicates several places where King John's caravan could have crossed the Wash, and a group of researchers led by an archaeologist named Clive Bond believes they've located the right one. Clive's group of researchers has banded together to find out what lies beneath, and they're using everything from high-tech metal detectors to good old-fashioned shovels and sifters. Clive.
Hi.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, pleasure.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Quite an operation you got going out here?
It's quite busy today, yes. The LiDAR data gives you a high point here, and you can visually see this rise of at least a metre.
Yeah, this kind of bump here.
Yeah. At the time of King John, this certainly would have been a route where people are going back and forth. So today we're investigating whether there's any activity on that rise which could be of that date.
Right.
Of that period, sort of 1216 or so, when potentially this caravan went past.
To find proof that this is where the baggage train went down, scientists must first establish that this field was once a section of coast, with terrain that could have engulfed such a large procession. That job belongs to Clive's colleagues, Martin Bates and Aaron Cavanaugh. Nice to meet you. Aaron, how are you? Nice to meet you. And they're using some unusual looking equipment.
So what we're actually trying to use a geophysics for is to help us reconstruct the landscape that's buried beneath our feet.
Got it.
And it works because different sediments conduct electricity in different ways. So a clay will conduct electricity differently to a sand, which might be more resistant.
Got it.
Behind you is what you're going to be doing.
Okay.
And this is called an electromagnetic pole, and it creates an electrical field around you, and as you move across the ground surface, it records the changing conductivities of the sediments beneath your feet.
Is it going to electrocute me to death?
Probably not.
Okay. Who could possibly pass up an opportunity to have a massive electromagnetic field around them? So I strap on what would be best described as circus bondage gear and get to work. How is this a real thing?
So we're going to turn it on.
Okay. There's a lot of equipment right around this area.
Yeah. Off you go.
Why are you running away from me? With little direction and everyone keeping their distance for some reason, I'm off and running. Science is weird.
Can you see that you're making a little snail trail on the screen?
Yes, I can. That means it's working.
That means it's working.
Okay.
And each one of those points is a data point.
I feel a little bit like a tightrope walker. This electromagnetic pole can look at sediments up to nearly 20 feet underground. Once the data is sorted and mapped, we can determine if this field was once part of the deadly mudflats of the Wash.
What's really amazing is that back in the 1970s, somebody was looking for King John's treasure in the Wash, and they did a very early version of this sort of survey.
Really?
And they did it all by hand, because of course it didn't have any GPS.
Right.
Would have taken weeks and weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, a field of this size we can now do in 45 minutes.
Incredible. Once I walk across the entire field, the data points are reviewed, and there's promising results. The scan indicates what appear to be softer layers beneath the field. But to prove it's part of the Wash, the team will have to actually see beneath the surface. To do that, we'll be employing a simple device and a lot of muscle. Okay, so, how does this work?
Well, what we've got here is what's called a gouge auger.
A gouge auger?
A gouge auger, yeah.
Okay.
And so we essentially just use brute force.
And gouge the ground?
Just drive it into the ground, we turn it, and then we pull it out.
Got it. So we have to drive this entire thing down to the bottom?
Yeah, we're going to give it a go.
Ready?
Yep. Push this down.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So we've got it down. So we twist it now.
This process isn't flashy, but it is effective. And it could help reveal if this is indeed the spot where King John's caravan met its tragic end.
So we'll pull it out and we'll see what we